presented by Front Yard Fantasy. I'm your host, Simon. Joined as always by my wildly handsome co-host, John Luke Garofalo. Our friend Coop with us, aka Coop A. Fiasco. What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. I'm your host, Simon, joined as always by my co-hosts, John Luke Garofalo and Andrew Cooper. What's up, boys?
Hey!
Hey, oi, hey.
Oi. Tommy spelled oi wrong. He wrote yo on accident. I'm pretty sure he meant oi. Time for the shoy.
Time for the shoy.
Time for the shoy.
Oi. It's time for the shoy.
Fantasy Nav, what's up? Welcome in, Eric. What's up, Tommy? Glad to have you
What
guys
up,
in
Eric?
here
Good
bright
morning.
and early this morning.
Morning, partners.
JL Coop, how you guys doing on this? What day is it? Today's Thursday, right? There's football tonight. How you guys doing?
Football.
Good? Bad?
I woke up
Medium?
so sleepy and completely turned it around. I'm ready to go now.
Ready to go? Man,
Yeah.
That's 10
Tom-
minutes of quick turnaround.
Tommy in the chat saying, what jersey? This is all I'm going to give you guys. This and this. See if you can figure it out there in
Toyota Camry.
land. It
New
is.
Jersey.
It's the rare New Orleans Saints Toyota Camry
AutoZone
promotional jersey that they put out back in 2007. For
Eric
the new launch.
already got it, I believe. He said Colts on, which I believe is an attempt. Yes, there it is. Marquise Colston jersey. The original Taysom Hill.
The original.
Dude, you are where your hood was completely covering the name, so we just got to see in the end.
The old trivia. So, but yeah,
Who-
the original Taysom Hill,
name.
who Yahoo as a rookie incorrectly categorized as a tight end, and he ended up being the tight end 1 in PPR over Tony Gonzalez and like Antonio Gates. So that's actually how I acquired this jersey, with winnings from a league where that was my tight end.
Nice.
Coop's been playing the tight end game for a long time. You've been in the tight end biz. You've been in the tight end streets.
tingles.
I'm out here.
Tickled so many tight ends that they don't even know what's coming anymore. Gucci, mother trucker.
Gucci mother truckers. Coops
That's
home.
That's like the version of Die Hard that they play at like 1 in the afternoon on TV.
Oh.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother friend.
I'm sick of these mother chucking snakes on these father finding planes.
Father finding planes. Beautiful.
This is a giant fleet of Maury planes. That's a deep daytime joke.
I like
guys.
that. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, too
That's
early.
a deep cut.
Too early for that one.
Deep cut for a
Too early
deep
for
Maury
the
reference.
double thinkers.
Sorry, guys. my bad.
I'm not even sure what reference we're making. I'm gonna miss most references unless they're really obvious. Like
The 7:03 a.m. Maury Povich. You're the father joke. I believe. A father finder.
I told you it's a deep cut.
Yeah.
My
Jokes are especially funny when you need to explain them 2 times.
Coop, you got it. You knew exactly what was up.
I'm awake, dude.
You were
I got
following the thread.
I'm a Patriots coffee here.
Happy.
My girlfriend's brother came over with his girlfriend at the time one time, and we were gonna have a game night, and she was very excited, and she brought her own board game that she was excited to play, and I was like, oh, cool. Like usually I'm the one bringing all the board games, but like I was like, cool, someone's bringing a board game. She pulls out Maury, the board game. It is a game where you're trying to not be the father of the child in the game, and if you are the father, you lose. Yeah. You lose the game
of life.
And the game is
the game of
like
this is the game of life.
It's just this like absolutely horrible like concept for a game where like you're just celebrating if you're not the father. The gameplay was awful. It was one of the worst games I've ever played, but I stuck with it because the theming was hilarious.
I'm gonna have to ask him because I'm gonna see this weekend, but I'm pretty sure my brother caddied for Maury Povich when he was younger, when he's a kid, at a golf course near my house. Apparently, dude's total hothead. Cannot play golf. Not very good.
I can see that though. I can see that dude just like freaking out. In the chat, we already have a question. Philly defense. Is it a bad idea to play without a defense? They're on bye, and I'm not dropping them or anyone on my bench for 1 week. I will say the great Howard Bender of Fantasy Alarm that runs the show has taught me, and it's proven to be true. Never give yourself a 0 on purpose. Like, there are too many of these leagues where at the end of the day, when playoff time comes, a bunch of teams are going to have the same record. It's going to boil down to points. Drop someone off your bench, add a defense. If anything, this offseason, you need to make sure a vote goes up to add more bench spots. If you're sitting there playing guys that are injured or not playing this week and taking 0s, you got to drop somebody, add a defense. If the Eagles, if your bench is too good, you have to drop the Eagles. Use your fab, do whatever to get them back, but don't take a 0. It's not smart.
Yeah. I would add a caveat to that because I do generally agree with you, Coop. But I will say there are times where it could be advantageous to take a 0. For instance, if your tiebreaker isn't total points on the season or points scored on the season, as well as like if it makes sense to take a 0 and keep someone on your bench that's going to help you later on, and you have good chances of making it later on, like you have a good record, then the strategy might make sense to just take the 0 now for the longer term benefit. So I think there's scenarios where you might want both.
That just means
generally, I think it's a good rule.
To me, that means you need to add more bench spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more on Coop's side. I get what you're saying, Jalen. Maybe if it's like a super shallow league, like you've got DeAndre Hopkins waiting to come back on your bench, and you've got one other like top tier player, like I don't know, Cortland Sutton sitting on your bench, and it's a 3-person bench, and then maybe you don't drop them, maybe you take it. But I'm generally in agreement. Most leagues, you can't take that 0. You got to put someone in there. I don't care if you're favored by 60. Do you have any idea how often it goes in and before the match it says I have a 98% chance to win, and then I just lose after like 30 minutes of games? It's like, wait, I was wrong. Puts me at 2% instead of at 98%, and then it never recovers. Happens absolutely often.
That's the fantasy food.
Absolutely often.
Absolutely often.
Absolutely. It happens sometimes. It happens almost some of the time.
Good morning, Craig. Welcome, man. He said, morning. Sorry I'm late. That's
morning,
okay.
Craig.
We'll forgive you this time. He said, forgot the
Good
time
question,
listening to funny Mortal Kombat intro compilations on YouTube. Well, I know what I'm doing after this. I never even considered I needed to watch that on YouTube, but now I know.
Yeah, send the best ones in the FYF Discord, Greg. We need to know.
There was some news this weekend that I wanted to hit. I saw some tweets last night from Russell Wilson's press conference. Russell Wilson had some good quotes. First of all, for a second straight press conference, Russell Wilson did not say Broncos country, let's ride at the end of his presser. 2 weeks in a row now. But what he did say is that his hamstring is getting better by the day. I heal quick. It's Wolverine blood or something. And this comes from Zach Stevens, Denver. He's a Denver reporter. So he's got Wolverine blood, but he's not riding anymore. Let's not ride Broncos country.
You got to be very careful with Wolverine blood. You can't just be riding around everywhere,
I don't know. This guy's got so much. This guy is a cringe machine, dude. I don't know what he does to my blood, but it makes the hair on my arm stand up. Like, whenever this guy says anything, I'm just like, dude, please don't. Like, how can you be an NFL quarterback and still be such a dork? Like, if you just don't say anything, you'll be like one of the coolest people in the world, right? Like,
ask Kirk Cousins,
NFL quarterback.
Dude just peaked.
Seriously.
Somehow Kirk Cousins, who like should be the dorkiest quarterback in the NFL, doesn't even hold a candle to Russell Wilson. Like Kirk Cousins doesn't have videos.
No, man.
Just if you are questioning that, pull up the Mr. Unlimited video again. Like, just watch it again in case you've forgotten just how much that one hurts.
And then pull up that video of Kirk Cousins wearing the chain from, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
pull up the picture of that Kirk Cousins tweeted himself of him cooking steaks in tinfoil, just like boiling steaks. Like, oh yeah. Yeah, they should have a dork off. See who takes that down.
A dork off.
A dork off.
Who else participates in this? Is it just those two?
Maybe Matthew Slater from the Patriots. He'd probably be up there. Yeah, I don't know. Those are probably the two dorkiest dudes. I mean, speaking of the Patriots, did you see what Bill Belichick did at his press conference?
No.
Like he does this every week. Like you only have so much time to ask him questions and for him to talk. So he starts off every week by just like eating up as much of that time possible by just praising the other team. And he started his press conference spending legit 9 minutes talking about how good this Bears team is, dude.
A full 9 minutes. He just gaslit them.
Pumping their tires, dude. Like talking about explosive plays. This team's like dead last in explosive plays. He's talking about how many explosive players they have. Like just ridiculous, dude. And then after that, like he's like, any other questions? Everyone just like flabbergasted. They didn't even know what to do, dude. But he does this every week, bro. No matter what the team is, and I think he proved that this week with the Bears. That like no matter what the team is, he could use a full 10 minutes talking about anything, dude. Don't ever ask this guy about like Navy football or like Rutgers lacrosse, because he'll take 10 minutes on that too. Like anything to not talk about like the game plan, right?
So if we're ever really tired, we just bring Bill Belichick on, see if we can get him on the show real quick and ask him one question, and then just like sit back for a second.
Ask him one question about long snappers, and we could probably make it to the next break. He's there.
That's do you think any of that is real, or you think it's all he's just playing a game, Coop?
I think that this guy, like, he knows so much about football that he could turn around and give a full 10-minute speech on why they're the worst team in the league if he wanted to. But why would he do that? So every week he just goes out and he could find ways to pump up any team. You know, it's just that's Belichick, man. But I think the reality is he just doesn't want he doesn't want to talk to reporters.
Yeah, I don't want to be here.
Right. Yeah.
Don't want to talk to you.
I'll go out on my own terms.
That's hilarious. Other good news. Shot Bateman's back at practice, boys.
Yeah. Hey.
I'm nervous.
Bateman season.
I'm real nervous, man.
Nervous for Bateman or nervous for everybody now that Bateman's back?
I'm nervous for me personally because I thought Bateman myself. First of all, I play for the name on the back of the jersey, so I'm mostly worried about me. Mostly worried about my fantasy teams and my takes. We're like Bateman. I think he's a good player. I think this is a perfect offense for him to be in, where they use the fullbacks and the tight ends, highly consolidates the targets among the top couple guys. I'm nervous that this guy might not be as good as we think. And if that's the case, him coming back and playing like a partial snap share because he's kind of banged up and not playing that good is probably the worst thing that could possibly happen to me and anyone who's starting Rashad Bateman, right? Like it would be better for me for that guy to just be out for the season than for him to come back and be bad.
Do you think this is like, is the badness, are you actually concerned about like the talent of Rashad Bateman, right? This is not necessarily just the injury, or where's the concern coming? Not
even just talent, because like I think he's talented and we've seen him make plays, but I'm concerned about the way this offense is set up. You know, a couple of these games, I mean, like Devin Duvernay scoring 70-yard touchdowns, running back kicks, doesn't really leave a lot of room for offense. I mean, they were for the first 3 games, they were averaging like 50 snaps a game, which last year they led the league with 69 snaps a game. You know, so nice. I'm just very, very cool. 69 snaps a game. Very cool. I saw
a question from Craig in the chat. Did you guys see this one? Craig said, what sort of Bill Belichick comments would be made about you all before he comes on FYF in the future? Like Bill's giving a pregame press conference before he comes on Front Yard Fantasy. What's he saying about us?
First thing he says, he pops in, he goes, hey, hogs up, boys.
Oi.
Belichick drops the hogs up.
He starts it off with, first of all, hogs up, boys.
He probably wouldn't have anything good to say. He probably just right away he'd be like, "We're on to Moose and Keith." Heard they're giving away a jersey today.
Bill Belichick gets up there and he's like, "Please save your those questions for Nando and Corey at 3 p.m."
Yeah, right. He'd probably get wind of whatever jersey Moose and Keith are giving away today and talk for like 15 minutes about like Clyde Drexler or something. You know, like some ridiculous story.
I think he would, for me, like he wouldn't even have to change what he said about the Bears. He would just say, you know, Simon, he has a lot of explosive plays. He just really has a lot of explosive plays on a daily basis.
Yeah. See where you're going with this.
Yeah. It's the dairy giving me diarrhea, JL. That's what it is.
See, jokes are always funnier when you have to fully explain them. Was that another Maury
2 for
Povich
2.
show?
Maury Povich, diarrhea, Bill Belichick.
That's a show you
2 for 2 today. Off to a good start.
For some reason, I just combine the two stories in my head and imagining every time I poop, Maury Povich pops out and goes, "You are the father," to my own poop. Like that's just the sound my toilet.
Bill Belichick comes to do your job.
That's doing
We're on to Maury. What comes on after Maury? We're on to Dr. Phil. I'm sorry. We're on to Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
Maury, we are not the father, and we're moving on to the next daytime reality talk show.
Dude, speaking of bad reality talk shows, did you guys see what happened with the fan that won the 50-50 raffle week 1 for the Commanders game? You saw that?
So Commanders. Yeah, it's very Commanders.
Bro, they cut him a check, JL, and it bounced.
What?
Swear to God, he won like 14 grand at the 50-50. They cut him a check and it bounced. And they
who a check?
The Commanders cut this guy won the 50-50
they do a 50-50 raffle, and you're supposed to half of it goes to charity and half of it goes to whoever wins the raffle. That's the 50-50 portion of it. And he won like $14,000, and they cut him a check. The Commanders did, and it bounced. They didn't have enough money in the account, and he legit they asked the dude, and he was like, she's like, I couldn't believe it. He's like, who am I supposed to reach out to? Dan Snyder, So like,
yeah. Yeah.
I mean, dude, kind of a
okay, but that's a stupid thing for that guy to say. Like I agree that guy's dumb, but like what a dumb thing. I don't know. Find an email address like on the website, like contact that Commanders. Like, what am I supposed to do? Call the freaking owner of the team? No.
Administrative error?
Like,
what the heck am I supposed to do?
No, the Commanders, that's ridiculous to have a check bounce like that. And my first thought was wonder if the charity got paid. Absolutely. Like that was my first thought. Like, man, I hope that check didn't bounce for whatever charity they were giving that to. But what a weird way to think about that. Like, am I supposed to, like, every time like I go to a restaurant, like maybe my food's not perfect, I'm like, didn't know what I was supposed to do. Emeril Agassi wasn't even here. Like what am I supposed to do? Just contact Emeril because I'm at his restaurant and my pasta wasn't al dente. Like, and I'm just supposed to contact Emeril on the phone. No, I'm gonna start with the waitress or the waiter, and I'm gonna ask them. Like, hey,
I'm going right to the top.
Al dente.
I'm going right to the top. I'm calling Emeril up. Bam. I'm trying to get him on that. I'm getting him down there in his apron to make that pasta. Just like
you probably got to go over Emeril's head. You got to go straight to Rachel Ray.
All the way to, she's like, do you think all TV chefs are just like report to her? Like she's the head.
It's just one hierarchy. Yeah.
I feel like Gordon Ramsay would be at the top of that.
You'd think, but
you would think he's just a figurehead.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
He's just a figurehead, and she's behind the scenes pulling all the important strings, right?
Man, I love watching him just yell at people who are being idiots. Like sometimes he yells at people for no reason, but like what's his show, like Restaurant Impossible or something, where he goes in and he fixes restaurants that are like failing. That's my favorite because they're failing because the owners are being like cheapskate assholes most of the time. And then Gordon Ramsay gets in there and he's like, "Hey, you're an asshole." And they're like, "No, I'm not."
they're like, damn.
And then they act shocked that the TV show they signed up for, where Gordon Ramsay's whole job is to come in and tell you you're an asshole, is that he did it. They're like, I cannot believe he would come in here and be so disrespectful. I love reality television.
He's just going around the country, grabbing people by the face, just like, what are you doing?
They need to add Gordon Ramsay to Hard Knocks. Just like have him show up at the facility to yell at people.
So good.
Hard Knocks x Gordon Ramsay.
I feel like Dan Campbell needs Dan Campbell needs a Gordon Ramsay, like balance him out. Like he's just so positive, such a nice guy. And then in these meetings, like, yeah, man, sorry, man, I gotta cut you. Like it's the worst part of the job, man. Gordon Ramsay's like, you're a waste of space. Get out of here.
I saw that Melvin Gordon will be the Broncos running back on Sunday against the Gents per Nathaniel Hackett. This one also coming from our friend Zach Stevens. So I don't know what happened with Melvin Gordon. Just didn't play last week. Maybe he was in trouble. Maybe the coach thought he was more injured than he thought he was. Like that seems like the most likely outcome to me, right? Like Melvin Gordon was saying, I'm fine. Put me in. I want to play. And maybe Hackett was saying like, I saw something. Let's let it rest a little bit more.
You know what I've learned a little more this offseason that I didn't think was the case, but turns out even good coaches do this, because I've heard this from some good coaches in the league that some of these teams give the personnel decisions at their position to the position coaches in full. Right. Like I heard one with, so it seems that's the case because I heard a couple one. Like I heard one with Mike Tomlin where like they asked him about, they asked him about Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. And he said, oh, I'll have to go ask so-and-so why that was the case. And there was another one with a wide receiver where he didn't play like the whole game. And the coach was like, oh, I'll have to ask, so-and-so saw something and this is why, so sometimes that's delegated to the position coaches, it seems, on some of these teams at least, where the coaches legitimately don't know why the player wasn't in, whether he was injured or not, So it could very well be the case that it's not Nathaniel Hackett making that call. And then once they had a heart-to-heart afterwards, those two guys, maybe he went to the running back coach and said, hey, you know what, like you can't be benching this guy like that. So you never know with those situations. Sometimes that
is interesting. I'm curious, like how all that delegation works. It'd be surprising to me that like the head coach would be unaware of like such a big strategy, like part of their strategy or a big part of the game like plan. It's not like it's that complicated. Like there's just like nooks and crannies of his football team that he's just not seeing. So it's like a little surprising, but I think it goes more like I'm more interested because I'm not fully confident I understand how they're all delegating those responsibilities, like you're saying, Coop.
I mean, the thing is, Nathaniel Hackett's also an offensive coach. So for him, I could see it more with a defensive coach, like a Robert Saleh type guy, where he kind of gives the offense to the offensive coordinator and delegates a little more that way. But you're right. Nathaniel Hackett probably was at least generally aware that the guy wasn't playing, but sometimes you might not know why,
Yeah. And like, what does that say about his like coaching ability if like he's delegating in a way that he's just completely unaware of like those decisions? And maybe that's not the case. Maybe that we're just extrapolating, but it is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
We got another interesting, some other players back from some injuries this week. Pat Frymuth and Amon-Ra St. Brown practicing in full this week. Coop, are you firing up your favorite boy Frymuth?
So, yeah, I mean, the thing with Muth, he's coming off a concussion. It used to be that if you come off a concussion and you're a full go, then there's nothing to worry about. But these days, especially after the Tua incident and stuff, you got to be a little wary. This guy's he's only been in the league for one season and 6 games now, and he's had 3 concussions, which is not good. So, if you don't have any better options or other options, you got to fryer him up and get him in there. Hey,
3
Look out now! You need me to explain that one, folks. But yeah, he's always solid, but at the same time, he's not necessarily a top 2 target on the team. So it's not like you have to get him in there if you have other options. Like if you have like a Zach Ertz or anybody like that, you always start those guys. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, he played a limited snap share against the Patriots, but coming out of the bye, you got to fire this guy up. He was been too good in the early games, and I wasn't a big fan, but. It's like if we're starting Jacoby Myers wherever we have him, which we are, then you got to start Amon-Ra St. Brown because he does similar things except slightly better. So got to get him in there.
Yeah, I'm plugging in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've got concerns about Pat Frymuth, but we had a question here about Greg Dulcich as well. Would you be plugging in Dulcich or Frymuth this week?
So I think I would start Frymuth, and the thing there is that like you look at Dulcich and Frymuth when healthy plays every snap. And you can at least make the argument that he's the second target on the team after Deontay Johnson. With Dulcich, as much as we like him, he did only play about like 70% of the snaps or so. And still Sutton at the top and Judy second. I know Judy's been crazy inefficient. I saw a stat that he's got like a 45% catch rate this year, which is legit. When you sort all the guys that have like a qualifying number of targets, the only player who's worse right now is DJ Moore at like 44%. So
you just had to hurt my feelings a little bit. You were like, it's so bad, but there's one more that's worse.
The only players that have been worse, they're hanging up behind Simon right now.
Ouch.
Yeah, but no, Dulcich to me is a stash. You stash the guy, and if he comes out and his usage is the same this week, then you start using him. But it's a little early. We get a little too excited sometimes, a little too overzealous with these players. I know, Simon, you can't be told anything at this point on Greg Dulcich. So
Yeah, no, I'm in full force. I say that there's plenty of leagues where I picked him up where I'm not starting him, where I'm full force on him as a lottery ticket. Like, I want to see what this dude can become. Most likely outcome is what Coop's saying. Like, he remains the third target on this team, and he's got good weeks, he's got bad weeks, but it's going to be inconsistent. I'm holding on to him in case that's not the case. I liked what I saw week 1 back after the injury from a rookie tight end. And I like his hair, and that's an important thing in fantasy football.
I got him in Scott Fishbowl.
His hair, you like? Me too.
Yeah, what'd you spend on him?
Oh no, I drafted him in the second to last round.
Ooh, without an IR spot. You're a fancy boy.
Threw Greg Dulcich on the back of that bench right there. And now my tight end situation is not murky, but I've got Robert Tonyan, Gerald Everett, and Greg Dulcich as my healthy tight ends in the Scott Fishbowl. And it's a decent little platoon. It's a decent little platoon of tight ends. I'm enjoying it. I waited a little bit.
What a fun name for a group of people. Platoon.
Yesterday, according to Daniel Popper on Twitter, Keenan Allen was quoted on if he might want to take one more game to let the hamstring heal with a bye in week 8. And he said, yeah, most definitely. It's going to be a thought process going into it. Definitely want to play it the smartest way. And if that's the best thing, then that's what it will be. So we may be.
There are many things that you can say, in which case I will use words.
Riddle me this, Mr. Reporter.
Platoon.
Let's say bye week was at week 9 and my ankle was made of jelly. What would your
Bears
decision
offense
be
has been
then?
A
explosive.
platoon. That's a fun word, isn't it? Just doing the same thing we're doing on this show. That's another fun one.
Yeah, but you may be without Keenan Allen for another 2 weeks, because he does have that bye week coming up in week 8, and this is week 7, and 7 is one before 8. So he may just take off this one so that he gets 2 more weeks off to let that thing heal. That's the math, guys.
That's the math.
Caught up with that on.
We got Will in chat saying, all right, fellas, catch you later. Got to go deliver mail. Go deliver that mail, Will.
And shout out to the
world
mailmen.
needs you.
Yeah.
Shout out to
And
the
male
mailmen.
women.
And male women.
World. Yep.
Yo, my new mailman is sick. I'm so happy with him. My old mailman hated me. I avoided him like the plague because I would forget to unlock the gate like one day a week.
Sick,
and then I'd come out the next day and he would like lecture me, like, you have to have the gate unlocked. Like, he would yell at me and I'd be like, I'm sorry, it was an accident. Like
you have to pay down your debt.
And then but the new mailman, like, I'll be walking my dog like 20 blocks away from my house, and all of a sudden I'll see the mail truck pull up next to me and he'll be like, yo, I got your mail from the last 10 days because you haven't unlocked your gate in 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, cool. And I go, and he's like, man, I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, I don't even care. He's like, as long as you let me deliver the mail once every 10 days, I don't have to send it back. He's like, but that's the law. He's like, if it's 10 days, I
see how much mail we
can
can stuff in there.
After listening to this story, it sounds like you had 2 normal mailmen and you're just an idiot.
Oh yeah.
It really seems like if you had just unlocked your gate like you're supposed to, you would have 2 nice mailmen.
If you notice, I didn't say anything necessarily bad about the other mailman, just that he was mean to me and hated me. He was right. Like, he was correct, but he still hated me, and so I still avoided him. This new guy.
I'm with you, Simon, though. Like, I feel like I have a similar approach. My mailman drives me nuts because he'll walk he'll open my back gate and walk all the way up my deck. And like, I live in the city, so like, I'm not used to just seeing people be just suddenly at my back door. And so he'll scare me to death, and he'll like do this. And I always just sit there like, why does he come up here to give me my package? Just leave it on the ground down there. I'll go get it. Stop being nice.
Why are you guys locking your gates? Like, you live in some sort of compound? Like, what's going on?
I live in downtown, downtown San Antonio.
Locking your door,
I just leave my door open.
Locking your door isn't good enough. Like, you need like a moat and like
no. I've got my bike on my porch. We don't have a garage, so like some of our yard equipment's out there. When I left my gate unlocked one day, we no longer have a weed whacker or my bicycle. So the weed whacker's gone, the bicycle's gone. Like, and it's just
how tall is your fence, dude? You have like a wall.
It's like a normal fence, but it's got like the metal, it's like cast iron. I got like a cast iron fence all around.
So if anyone just put in like a minimal amount of effort, they could have your bike at any time.
I mean, to get over that fence. The fence is not the easiest to get.
It's not a joke to get over the fence.
Yeah.
So if
it's all about
if you had a more athletic mailman, then you wouldn't have a mail problem.
Exactly. I was just trying to find any situation in which this is gonna work out. Dude.
Also, I will say from a very young age, I have been a chronic door locker. Like I have been a door checker. Even when I lived in
I remember this.
the burbs of the burbs. Like I would go around the house 5 times checking all the knobs before I went to sleep. Watch your wording. Don't say checking on the knobs before you go to sleep. But I even when I was a kid, I made my parents put up security signs in the front yard, even though we didn't have a security system because I was so scared of bad guys. I was like, we got to get the ATT system sign up in the front yard because that'll keep people away. And
it's like the beware of dog one, but it's like a real cute dog picture on it.
Yeah, 100%. It's just the dog. And then when I finally got put in charge of the security system at my house, the first thing I did was shop for a dog. I was like, that's the security we need. And there's another reason to lock a gate. The dog can't get out and no one can open the gate. The mailman can't accidentally get in with the dog either.
Greg says JL and Simon live in Waco replica compounds. I love how ridiculously exaggerated. I have a single fence to my backyard that has no lock. It's just like one of those gates, fully compound. Nobody's getting in that. Fight me, mailman.
Simon's ready for the Alamo every week.
Coop's up there living in an igloo. Yeah. No neighbors for 50 miles.
Come on in, dude. Actually, it's funny. I did move to a street that has from the city area to a street that has no street lights or anything. So it's a new experience. Every other day there's some sort of critter in the yard that scares me. There's turkeys. I'm like, what's that? Like a deer.
I remember when I lived in downtown Atlanta, I was going on a trip to China for work, and I had just landed and my roommate texted me. He's like, hey, be careful. And I just sent him a news article about someone who had been shot 1 block from our house. And I was like, no, you be careful. I'm fine, man. Come on. It's totally cool over here right now. But yeah, sometimes depending on where you live, you just got different realities about what you do. Some precautions. You just got to be normal. Doesn't mean to walk around being scared. Just sometimes you got to lock your gate. Sometimes you got to, I don't know.
Maria in the chat, all caps, talking to JL. Stop talking about our lack of security.
She literally walked in here, took out her phone with the YouTube chat, and held it up to make sure I saw it.
There you go, dude.
Yeah, what's your home address?
Yeah,
it's I was about to dox you, Simon, for the joke.
Give Simon's address.
I don't know if that's that funny.
That crossed the line, JL. I probably would have dropped off the show, no warning, and let you just finish it.
Moved to Colorado.
It's Simon's
Switch.
Simon's Switch handle on his Switch. The Switches go online.
Yeah, Switches go online. They 100% go online.
100%.
How do you think I play Fall Guys by myself? I win every time. I'm first place in Fall Guys every single time. It's just me by myself.
Never lost.
Actually, even then, I don't always make it because I fall off and die.
The timer runs out.
Timer runs out before I make it to the end on that one. We had a question here from Tommy, though. Tommy wanted to know if we think Jameis Winston is going to start tonight. Goop, you got the Saints jersey on, so that makes you the expert on this game tonight. Is Jameis Winston starting? He does not carry an injury designation heading into week 7.
Yeah, I mean, I've already looked this up. No chance that I'm pulling it up on Twitter right now on my other screen while you were taking your time there. And it looks like Jameis Winston has no injury designation going into tonight.
Right. I agree. Do you think he's going to start?
I heard you say that. Yeah, I mean, he's the starting quarterback. If the starting quarterback has no injury designation, then he's in. So I think that I don't see why they need to make a formal announcement. And also, I guess I don't see why they haven't. Jameis Winston's the guy. He's, they were playing well when he was in there. And if that's the case, I will throw this out there for all you DFS folks out there, and maybe people that have Dallas Goedert. But Adam Trotman has already been ruled out for tonight. Juwan Johnson, 6 targets last week, ran a ton of routes, and Jameis Winston likes him a lot. It was Jameis that was throwing him the ball, and then Andy Dalton wasn't. So if you get Jameis Winston and no Adam Trotman, it's Juwan Johnson wheels up this week, folks.
Man, Adam Troutman, I think, is the reason I'm so excited about Greg Dulcich. That was the last rookie tight end I got really excited about, where I was like, this is the dude. This is the guy. Drafted him everywhere, and then and now Dulcich, I'm like I finally recovered. I'm like, I can pick a new one. I can pick a new tight end that's going to be the guy. And Dulcich, just screamed at me. I'm not picking.
Don't jinx this one, please, because Adam Trotman was blocking on like 50% of his pass.
I don't even care if Dulcich works out. It's not going to affect me emotionally or my self-worth as an analyst at all.
Good job.
Not even one bit. One more question from Breathing Fantasy Football, literally in here. It says, is Olave the wide receiver one? Cards have crushed wide receiver ones all season so far. So is Olave the one in this? Are the Cardinals going to treat him as the one?
Probably. Yeah, I think he is. I mean, who else is going to be the one there, right? Michael Thomas isn't playing.
Oh, whoa. Put some respect on Keith Kirkwood's name, bro.
Keith Kirkwood. Keith MFing Kirkwood. My apologies.
Yeah, I think it's Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry were already ruled out. So we're talking Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood, and Chris Olave. So I think Breathing Fantasy Football, literally, I think you can use your imagination on that one and figure out which guy is going to be the top dog. And yeah, they've been using they've got a couple really highly graded corners, but I think it's this guy Antonio Hamilton was his name that's been giving the number one guys trouble. So we'll have to see. But yeah, Chris Olave, if I'll tell you this, if I have him, I'm getting him in there. Jameis and Olave have been good. So I'm not too worried about the Cardinals shutting them down.
I'm with you, Coop.
Yeah. Unless you have somebody unless you have one of those monster lineups where you're like choosing between
Olave and T. Higgins for that last spot or something like that.
Then you don't have to get Olave.
Mm-hmm.
But
wonder which one. I saw Brady came in there and said, bold take, Pitts is number one scoring tight end this week. Kelsey and Andrews tougher matchups.
I can see it.
That would be so funny just to watch.
My problem with that is he only counted out 2 other tight ends. Pitts, look at the list of names ahead of him. You need to give me a reason for the other 14 names that are ahead of him in the rankings as well. Like what about Gerald Everett? What about Tyler Conklin? How's he outscoring these guys this week?
Tyler Conklin stinks, bro.
Yeah, that's
first of all.
Yeah, bring back Jordan Leggett.
Yeah, I guess that's true. He could I didn't let you finish the joke. Sorry. Good matchup from Pitts. I could see it. He's got like a 23% target share. It's just they're not throwing. If they throw the ball like a normal team, wheels up, baby.
Wheels up.
Breeden said name's EJ. That's right. I believe you told us that before.
What up, EJ?
Yeah.
EJ.
That target share for Kyle Pitts is 3rd amongst all tight ends.
That's just wild.
23% of nothing is, not a big math guy, but it's nothing, I believe.
It's like splitting your Lunchables pizza with some friends. Instead,
nobody.
You can have half my pizza. You can have half my pizza. It's unmicrowaved. What a gross concept. I'm pro Lunchables overall, but the Lunchables pizza is one I never got. Let's take this bread. We're not gonna toast it at all. You're gonna put room temperature tomato sauce with unmelted cheese on here and then just eat it
pepperoni of questionable age.
It's disgusting. Horribly gross.
Even despite your description just now, that sounds pretty decent. Sounds pretty lit. I'd have for lunch.
I'd eat it. Yeah. Do either of you guys I saw we had a UFC question in here, a random one. Do either of you guys follow UFC? Because I'm not qualified at all to comment on the fight this weekend.
I only follow the big fights and the big stories after the fight. Usually by the time a UFC story gets to me, it's because it happened last night.
Usually pretty much almost all my interactions around UFC are, oh, there's a fight tonight. Text my one friend in the fight this weekend. Cool.
We got tonight. That's what I say to my buddies from school. Who we got tonight. That way I can have a little skin in the game. And then the next day, if somebody gets knocked out in a weird way and someone sends it to me, that's my second UFC experience. And I'm like, that looks insane.
Octagon's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I get so stressed watching. I don't know why. I know that's a wimpy thing. And I grew up wrestling. I feel like a lot of my friends that I wrestled with are big into UFC. They like the combat sports. But when I see a dude take a knee to the head, my first thought is just bad for brain. That is bad for your brain. That cannot be good for you. And that's not the right thought to have. They know what they're doing. They're putting their bodies on, accepting that risk when they go in there. I understand that. But God, it is hard to watch, man.
So whoever's throwing out whoever threw out that UFC comment, if you do know about UFC, let us know what we're looking for tonight, what the big card is, and maybe we'll get a little involved.
Also, EJ, my man, I was just messing with the other players. I was making a joke about Kyle Pitts being bad so far this season, but this could be that week. This could be that week. And as a DFS player, saying you're a DFS player, I love it throwing Pitts in there. You may maybe a little bit unique with people out on Pitts so far this year. Guys, coming up, we've got some poll perception that we're going to play, and we'll be talking plenty about this Thursday night football game, as well as playing some fantasy detectives later as well. Randy Santel is going to be joining the show, competitive eater, towards the end today, so make sure you're sticking around. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Better Sports Live with Rick Kamla.
That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on Better Sports Network.
Andy Reid is the best current coach in the NFL. He's better than Belichick. Belichick has lost his way. He's better than Tomlin. He's better than Harbaugh. He's better than Shanahan. He's better than McCarthy down in Dallas. He's better than all of the gangster NFL coaches right now. Sean McDermott up in Buffalo, he's better than all these guys. Andy Reid is the greatest gangster that we have at head coach in the NFL right now. And I understand that you're saying, well, Belichick is the GOAT, Cam. How can that be true? Now you're bringing up old stuff. Bill Belichick can't draft anymore, okay? Talk to me. Nick Chubb, Sony Michel. Talk to me. DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel versus N'Keal Harry, okay? Talk to me. This dude has lost his way. Remember the year when he should have bottomed out and just tanked, but he couldn't, and he went and got Cam Newton, and they were a mediocre team, right? He's lost his way. And not that he can't coach up a good defense and that kind of thing, but overall, he's lost his way. Andy Reid's an absolute badass. They draft great. He's a great coach. Makes the right decisions, when to go for it, when to kick, when to punt. The guy's the man.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I hate the stupid unsportsmanlike conduct. As long as you're not disrespectful to the opponent, you should be allowed to celebrate.
How I used to say it, and to bring up, because now basketball's starting to bring up.
Oh, dude, it's even worse than basketball, isn't it?
So Dikembe Mutombo, who used to get teed up in the 2000s, in the 90s, they didn't give a crap. 2000s, though, when they tightened up the rules, they used to tee him up more when he did the Dikembe finger wag. But they wouldn't tee him up if he did it to the crowd, instead of looking at like Eton Thomas, like one time I remember, and doing it right to him, or when his back was turned, doing it right to him. If he did it to the crowd, they would never call it. And so that makes me wonder if these players, while, yeah, they want to talk a little smack, maybe they should flex towards the crowd than at the player who they're standing over.
I guess.
I know again, it's soft, man.
It is soft.
Because you know what?
Like we're gonna give 15 yards for that,
bro. They think that, you want to know why they're paranoid? They think that's gonna turn into a fight.
See, I disagree with that. That's not going to start a fight.
I agree with you. They don't agree with us.
It's one thing, okay, if you spit in someone's face or say something derogatory, like about their family or something, right, yeah, that can incite it. But if you're just like, yeah, I made that play, what? You know what I mean? Like, again, they know the rules. You got to know you're going to get flagged. You have to have discipline. But, like, I don't know. I have no problem with celebration as long as it's not disrespectful.
What's disrespectful? You know,
it's interpretation, and that's my problem. Watch, it's going to cost someone in a big playoff game, and that's when people are going to go crazy. There'll be a third down play. Someone makes a pass breakup, and they're in someone's face. They're going to throw a flag. It'll extend the drive. That team scores, wins the playoff game because of it. You need something drastic for it to really leave an imprint, and I hope that doesn't happen to mine.
Better Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
We are back, everyone, here on the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. Oi, oi, oi. I like the oi better than the oi. They hit different. They're saying different things, right?
They do hit a little different. I think the oi. I mean, should we adopt that as our hello over hogs up?
They're different. They're different. Both have their place.
Hey, I like it. A good oi gets me going. So does the music right coming out of break. I'm like jamming out oi, you know.
For some reason, you reminded me. There's like these like really old British guys on TikTok who rap, and they sound like, I swear half the words are just a, and it works. Like it hits hard when there's like a nasty beat in the background, and these like 80-year-old British dudes just shout out an a. It's like, yeah, man, like you freaking got it.
A, and rip to the queen. Hello, governor. Grab your tea and crumpets. Yeah, boy, I love ya. It's kind of like that.
That was perfect. That was. Is this like the Six Flags guy all over again, where it's not actually an old man? It's just you wearing
Just
like
me.
a skin mask.
It is old men and me. We get on the mic and we're like, 1, 2, 1, 2. Got the royal juice in the bag of the booze. No
idea you could British freestyle. That's a talent you can add to your resume. We got EJ in the chat saying, I respect you guys. EJ, we respect you, my man, and thanks for coming in and hanging out. But he said, I host Chicken Scratch Galaxy Braining twice a week. Love the morning feeds from you guys when I can catch it. Is that like a brainstorming session, like a Chicken Scratch Galaxy Brains? I don't entirely know what that is, but I love all those words.
If you got a podcast,
sick.
Yeah.
If you got a podcast, plug it in the chat. We're cool with that. If you're hanging out with us, we're hanging out with you. So if you got a show, feel free to plug it up.
That sounds absolutely cool. Guys, we are about to get into some poll perception. Coop is going to be hosting the game. So JL and I are going head to head today. For those of you that have never played poll perception with us, it's one of our favorite games. It is the game that tests our knowledge of the public's perception of fantasy football. How this works is before the show, our good friend Keith, producer Keith, found some beautiful, succulent polls on the internet. Polls that are going to mostly be about the NFL or fantasy, but could be about anything. Coop is going to propose one of those polls to a contestant. He may ask me, hey, Simon, what percentage of people chose side A in this poll? I'm going to set the line, give my best guess. JL, you're going to be responsible for guessing whether the actual answer is over or under the line that I set. The closer I am, the more points I get. 10 if I'm exactly right, 1 if I'm 15 away. The points scale up within there. JL, you'll get 2 points for correctly picking the over-under in that scenario. We'll do this for about 4 polls. Then in the 5th and final round, JL and I will both be guessing a number. Whoever is closer on that one will get 5 points unless they hit it spot on, in which case they will get 10. The person with the most points at the end is our poll perception champion. You guys ready?
Very much so.
Let's do it, Coop.
I've never hosted poll perception. I've only been a unwilling participant. So this is exciting times.
Every single time.
All right. Let's get into it then. JL, would you like to go first or second?
I would like you to decide for me, Coop.
Can't do it.
Then I will choose third.
I've learned from Simon that whatever you pick, you're not supposed to give it to you. So you have picked third and second, so you will go first. All right. This question comes from a friend of ours, so we know the audience on this one. It is from Mr. Dave Kluge. And so,
by the way,
neutral.
Come check out Dave Kluge's Launchpad later. Simon and I will be on that. On Football Guys. Later today.
You know
3 p.m.
You know who I was on that with a couple months ago? A1 Joey Wright.
Oh,
so a bit of a family show.
Love me some Joey Wright.
Yep,
more little cup of Joe.
Oh, hey. So Dave Kluge. So you know that this is a typically unbiased fantasy analyst, maybe partial Bears skew. But here's your question: who do you prefer in PPR fantasy football for the remainder of this season? A, Derrick Henry, or side B, Breece Hall? So it's who do you prefer in full PPR fantasy football remainder of this season? Derrick Henry, Breece Hall.
Oh, and man, I'm sure that's a really good point being made.
I'm just recapping the poll here. So Derrick Henry, you're saying what percentage of the public chose the Derrick Henry side of this poll? I'm going to go with 39%. I think the Breece Hall hype it's real.
39% on Derrick Henry. Simon, do you believe that the real answer is over or under 39%?
Over or under 39%? That's a good guess, JL, because I do think it's going to be on the Breece side, but I'm not sure how heavily. Like Derrick Henry's name still carries some weight. Like it's Derrick freaking Henry. And maybe people aren't fully bought in. Dave's a slightly bigger account as well. Know what I mean? Like you take that into account during these polls. It catches a broader fantasy football audience. So maybe not people that are like obsessive and have been waiting for the Breece Hall breakout. So
Tommy, I dropped that one. So in the chat, Tommy's asking, where's Dave from? Dave is he's a general fantasy analyst, but he is a well-known to be a Bears fan. But that doesn't really affect the skew on this one. None of these players are even in that division.
And he's over at Football Guys.
He's over at Football Guys, yeah.
I'm going to say over, but ever so slightly. I think that was a very good guess, Joe. I think you're going to score some points here. I'm going to take the ever so slight over.
Ever so slightly
Oh, and
over.
Tommy agreeing with me with the go slightly over. Man, Tommy, me and you were in sync this morning.
We got some guesses in the chat. Breathing Fantasy Football says Hall. Bankroll Theory says Hall. And Breathing says 30% on Derrick Henry. So pretty close to what JL's at. We do have the Swansea Sea Snake throwing the king out there. He's picking Derrick Henry. Tommy says Hall. And then we have the Sea Snake guessing over on 39%. And Tommy also with a slight over. Jordan Loop with the Queen Bee. He thinks you're right on, baby. But the real number of this poll, Derrick Henry, 29%. It was 28.8%. So Breathing Fantasy Football, literally 30% off by 1 on that one. So
with the heat.
JL coming in with the heat. So JL, you're going to get some points here. You're within 10. So you're going to get 3 points. Simon, unfortunately, you guessed over. It was under, so you get 0. But
what about like a handsome point?
Good try, good effort. Let me take a look. No handsome points.
Does that help? Does that change your
Wow.
mind? What about this
Unexpected?
You actually have -1 point. So JL has 3. Simon, you're gonna have -1 for touching your nipples.
Weirdly enough, that's exactly what my girlfriend says when I touch my nipples. She goes, "You have -1."
-1.
-1.
Think about what you did.
Yeah. All right. So 3 to
Wait, I
-1.
thought my nipples were gone, weren't they? I didn't pick the nipples yet.
Your nipples are gone.
Yeah.
That's right. You don't have nipples, so you're back up to 0.
Okay, thank you.
Simon, are you ready for your
Bill
question?
Belichick and Cloud Atlas.
I'm so ready.
Just as a reminder, anyone out there, if you guys want to come on and play and hang out with us, we've actually had a couple people do that over the last couple of weeks. Dustin came on, played. Hal came on and played. Call up. You could do video. You can call in, whatever you feel like it. Jump in. We'll throw you right in the game. I'll give you bonus points just for being wild and getting on here. So you'll start with 5. I just
Oi, 8.
Pop in, give us an 8, a little hogs up, and we'll play some games.
Isn't it?
I want someone to call
In
in,
it.
just say 8, and then click off immediately. Like we introduce them, they just hit that and
Just
then
go,
they go out.
8,
Boy.
drop a Dalton shouts, and then hit the road.
No, before we
Elton John mixed with mixed in there.
Elton John.
I love that.
Doubt and shout. What's the best name to say in that accent? I'm partial to doubt and shout. Gonna be quite a bit different around here without doubt and shouts.
Seabury Muggy Muffin.
that's my favorite player in the NFL.
T-Berry Muggy Muffin.
It's a tight end sleeper for 2025. Just keep your eyes on him.
Teddy Bridgewater.
That's pretty
pretty
good, bud.
Yeah. Like the jab, they just remove the D's. Teddy.
Teddy. That's actually kind of, you figured out my secret pretty quick. That's what I was doing with Dalton Schultz too. Dalton Schultz.
Dalton Schultz.
Just find names with D's in them and then take them out. I'm Dalen.
Tyler Higbee.
Just take letters out.
Ain't the Beatles have a song about Tyler Higbee?
Adam Troutman.
You know the tune. It's like Tyler Higbee picking up rice at a church where the wedding has been. All the lonely people. No?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's called
your
Tyler Higbee.
The chant
that the UK fans were doing, the London fans.
G's up your ass.
The cheese. Tommy gets it. Eleanor Higbee. All right, where were we? What were we doing?
I was going to say before we moved on to the next poll, I did want to ask you guys. I'm curious if either of you guys do you agree with the results of this poll? Are you taking Breece Hall rest of season over Derrick Henry? Like right now, you're sitting with Breece Hall in your lineup. Someone offers you Derrick Henry straight up. Are you taking the trade?
In full PPR, I'm just keeping Derrick Henry. I want Derrick Henry straight up. I'm with the Swansea Sea Snakes on this one. He's the stud.
Yeah, I'm excited about Breece Hall. Don't get me wrong. Like I am very excited. I'm keeping Derrick Henry. Like there's a safety to it as well. And we've seen Henry's upside. Like we know what he can be. I got to keep Derrick Henry here. This isn't an anti-Breece Hall take rest of season. This is these are both great running backs rest of season. I'll take the one with a little bit more safety.
Yeah.
I'll take the one with less of a chance for the floor to just fall out on me and ruin my season.
Exactly. Because, Michael Carter still could be involved to some degree, but we know that it's the Derrick Henry show. I think they're both RB1 territory. And Breathing Fantasy Football, I saw you on YouTube. If you want to get in the game, download the Better Sports app, hit that call-in button, and you can jump right in. We'll throw you in. All right.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And he's agreeing with us. EJ's agreeing with us, saying Henry over Hall still. Yeah. JL, Coop and I are both on the rest of the season. There's just some safety for these are 2 top-tier running backs. But there's a little bit more safety. There's less of a likelihood that the floor is going to fall out from under you with Breece or with Derrick Henry. Would you be taking Derrick Henry or Breece Hall rest of season in full PPR league?
Full PPR, I think I'd still go Henry, but it's getting close. I mean, they're getting closer, but I just don't see Breece Hall having the upside that Derrick Henry can give you.
I like what Swansea Sea Snake said. Jets players scary as hell.
Not wrong.
Scary as hell.
Not wrong. Kind of interesting this week, the matchup for the Jets, for the Broncos. The Broncos are only that's this week. It's Jets Broncos, and Jets are Broncos at home are -1, which means that if this were a neutral location, the Jets would be favored because you usually get 3 points for being at home. So, man, look at the Broncos fall from hypothetical offseason grace, right?
It's nice. It's got a ring to it. I think that'll stick.
Right. Well, I was going to say fall from grace, but they weren't actually good at any point, right? Like, it's hard to say that they were good. Like, this team with Russell Wilson has yet to be good. So
it's kind of nice to, like, on a micro scale, this has been the Browns fan experience for like my entire life. The off season, I swear, like every off season, the Browns won. Like growing like through high school, college, like the Browns won the off season. It was like, this is the year they're going to turn it around. Like this is going to be a good Browns team. And then the answer was always, oh wait, no, it's not. Like, no, it's not. They're bad again. Like I have had this experience so many times where I buy in and I'm like, this is it. This is the year. And then it just doesn't happen.
Jordan Loop knows that feeling as well. If the Browns don't win the offseason, the Dolphins do. But this year the Dolphins are actually good though. So
they look pretty good.
Let's get back. You're ready to get back to the game, boys.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Simon, you are up. It's 3-0 JL. And let's do it. Here's another similar question. This one from Fantasy Focus Live. So another neutral account, very neutral. Who would you rather have for the rest of the season? We'll say full PPR. And this is a similar question, except wide receivers. So rest of season, Michael Thomas as A or Christian Kirk as B?
Who would you rather have for the rest of the season? Michael Thomas as A, Christian Kirk as B. Man, this is a little bit tough, especially with Michael Thomas currently being injured. I think it's going to drive him a little bit down. Christian Kirk got off to a hot start, which I think surprised everyone. I know he's been disappointing since, but like you see, like things at the beginning of the season are stickier than things that happen a couple weeks in. Like you see a guy blow up the first couple weeks, then it's just a matter of time. You're just waiting for it to happen again. You know what I mean? Like, oh, now it's a down week, not, oh, that's who this player is. Like, so I think I still see like people talking about Christian Kirk, like, oh, he's going to bounce back to what he's supposed to be. Maybe this is what he's supposed to be, but I think it's going to be on the Christian Kirk side. I think it's going to be close though. Like, I don't think it's going to be wildly apart. I'll take 49% Michael Thomas, like real close, slightly leaning Christian Kirk, 49%.
Reminder for people in the chats that if you want to throw your guesses out there, see if you get that number. Breathing Fantasy Football literally almost got it last time. The number we're always guessing is side A. So he's guessing 49% on side A, which is Michael Thomas.
Man, for this one, it feels like, I don't know. I can't be the only one that is like, where in the world is Michael Thomas? So I feel like it's going to be a firm under here. I would maybe even flirt with going way under.
Ooh, are we allowed to do that on this show?
Not currently.
Okay.
We've been restricted. We've told it was too extreme for the year.
Like he said it would offend people.
We're aware that there's an expansion pack out there for this game, but we've yet to.
There's DLC.
We've yet to buy it. DLC. Yeah. It's out there. It's a thought process. So okay. So I'm waiting for
the Steam yearly sale to download it. It's I'm not paying full price for that DLC.
Right. Exactly. So
totally fair. So
you're saying under. You said way under just to insult Simon, which I appreciate. So we have 49% for Michael Thomas. Seeing some guesses in the chat here. We have Tommy getting the game saying Michael Thomas 68%. Jordan Loop at 43%. Skinner, the Sea Snake, with 47% Thomas, but rather have Kirk because of Olave, and Thomas can't stay healthy, even with D-Hop coming back.
That's what I'm saying.
I think
D-Hop
is on the Cardinals, and Kirk is now on the Jaguars, but sentiment stands. People excited about Olave in New Orleans.
Maybe it's like mentally affecting these players. Like, oh shit, D-Hop's back. Like,
right? Kirk is just forever living in the shadow of DeAndre Hopkins. Just like, he can't get out. He's like, damn it. I wish I accumulated more stats while he was suspended.
Like, he has a great week. It's like 7 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. And then he looks at the stat sheet for the Cardinals game, and D-Hop had like 8 catches for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he's like,
and he's still Kirk is still he's still old school. So he actually checks it in the paper. He's like he gets to that page and he's like pound the table.
His wife's like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "You won't believe it."
You won't believe it. He's got the paper balled up in his hand like Hank Stram. Like, God damn it.
He runs in the locker room with the newspaper. Have you guys seen this?
They've got it up on the wall, right?
It's on the 6th page, right there.
Oh man. Okay, so we had 49% guess for Michael Thomas, and JL thought it was under, and in this case, JL was right. Michael Thomas in this poll only garnered 28%.
Ouch.
Which is going to
I like how it means multiple things depending on the context. Boy.
Like, it could also be like you're standing up and you're like, boy.
I took that more like the sound a British dude would make if you like poked him in the ribs, like oi. So yeah. So okay. So on that one, JL, you're gonna get 2 for guessing under. Simon, I've never actually listened to the rules being explained, so I don't know if you get any points. But I'm guessing since you were 21 off that you don't get any. So
no, outside of 21 is this weird rule that we have where you actually get 21 points if you're exactly 21 away.
Yeah, it's called the Simon B-hole rule. It's weird.
B stands for butt, in case anyone was wondering.
Mm-hmm. I've never paid attention. So if you got some weird butthole rule, then I guess you have 21 points now. All right, dude. 21. Okay. So Simon 21, JL 5. Let's move on to the next one. So we've used 2 very similar questions so far, which I think is pretty fair. The butthole rule.
Any guesses in the chat?
Not sure how fair that is, but
the butthole rule.
Rules are rules. We're going to move on to a non-football question for you guys. This is a video game question. It's coming from IGN, which is about as official of a video game account as you can get. Which horror game remake are you the most hyped for? And there's some spooky ones on here. Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 4, or Dead Space?
Oh.
Dude, Dead Space? I actually played that game. I didn't play the whole thing.
I played Dead Space.
You played it too?
Yeah.
Dude, that game is jump scare city, bro.
Yeah.
Like, don't have a bowl of M&Ms on your lap when you're playing Dead Space. Let me tell you.
My favorite Dead Space memory is I went and my best friend in high school, my guy Andres, it was like a snow day, so we had no school. So my dad and I go to GameStop, then go pick up Andres, and then he comes over, stays in my house. We get play it at like 2 a.m. I shit my pants.
Yeah.
Terrifying. The game is terrifying.
Yeah, dude. It's like space zombies, if just to give you an idea. And they're coming out. They're coming at you, dude. No spoilers here, but don't assume any dead body on the ground is dead in that game.
I can't, just talking about this, I can't describe to you guys. Like, my video game preferences are like Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Like that's how I play video games. Zelda's pushing it for me because sometimes bad guys pop up out of nowhere, but the game's so beautiful, I play it. When my girlfriend and I downloaded Resident Evil like on the Switch, one of the older ones, and we played for like 30 minutes, and I was like, we got to stop. Like, this is not fun. Like I don't know why every time we clear a room, I do not want to go to the next one. Like, the last thing I want to do is round that next corner, because you know what's going to happen? Another guy's going to pop out, scare the shit out of me. And every time, it's why I can't play like shooting games. I panic and my fingers hit the things, and all of a sudden I'm pointing everywhere, shooting guns randomly. I get attacked. Like,
Simon's on level 1. He's like, let's just set up camp here and wait for the daylight.
Let's make them come to us.
Simon's playing Mario and some little like toad pops out. He's like, oi.
Oi.
Bioshock Infinite legitimately took me 2.5 years to beat, because I would play for 20 minutes and be like, I gotta stop. Like, my heart would be pounding out of my chest.
Which game?
Bioshock Infinite. It's not even a horror game. There's just bad guys running around.
Real quick, Dennis Steven in the chat says half PPR. I can get Keenan Allen and ETN for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Michael Thomas. He's stacked at RB, thin at wide receiver, scared of Keenan's hamstring. He always says, where can I find the trade point list of Trade Daddy? So if you want to find Trade Daddy's,
I got you.
list,
I'm gonna send you a link right now.
Yeah, we'll put a link in the chat, but that's if you type in peaked in high school on Twitter, that's peaked in HS_FF. And then I usually just hit the media button, because he always tweets them as images. And then they all come up right there in the images. He does them for PPR, standard, and half PPR, because he's a G. So you can get in there and check that stuff out. But yeah, if that particular trade, if you're worried about Michael Thomas's injury, you probably got to be equally worried about Keenan Allen injury. It sounds like Keenan Allen, based on his comments this week, is a pretty big risk of taking this week off, since they have their bye next week. So you wouldn't be able to use him until week 9. So Keenan Allen and ETN for Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Michael Thomas. What side would you guys be on that?
Right now, CEH and Michael Thomas. Like, I know Michael Thomas is also injured, but this feels like making a swap just to make a swap. And especially with Keenan Allen, like, it's looking like at most he won't be on until week 9. But we don't even know that that's going to be the case, right? Like trading for an injured player where they're already talking about potentially missing another week when they've been questionable for multiple weeks in a row and haven't played, like, makes me nervous, man. Makes me nervous. I'm sticking with CEH.
Yeah, I feel that, man.
I think I would go the other side of this. I think I would go on the Keenan Allen ETN side. I'm worried about Michael Thomas, as I've alluded to the show like 6 times already somehow. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's been pretty good, but I don't know that he's going to keep that up. I don't know that we're going to see him be the main guy.
We have, speaking of video games, player 3 has entered the game. We're going to get you boosted up to 5 points right away. EJ, what's up, my dude?
Hey, man. Hey, sorry if you guys can't hear me that well.
We can hear you so well.
Perfectly.
You sound great. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, excellent, dude. All right, let's get back to it. On that, just to answer that question from the chat, I think if you have at least 4 wins, I would take the side with Keenan Allen, because I think they're the better players and will be better down the stretch. So that's where I'm at. All right. So here was the question.
EJ, you ready to play?
Sure, man. I didn't catch. All I heard was Keenan Allen and Michael Thomas.
Oh, no. That's a totally different question. You jumped in. We literally just did sports questions, and now we actually jumped over to a video game question. So, so we're gonna get you. Yeah, we'll get you in on this one. So here was the question. I think, Simon, you're going to answer this one, right? Or is it JL's turn?
I think it was John Luke. John Luke was putting the guess, and so then DJ and I will guess over under, and then we'll get DJ the next.
Here was the question. Which horror game remake are you most hyped for? Silent Hill 2, Resident Evil 4, or Dead Space? So JL, it's on you on this one. How are you feeling about these ones?
So Resident Evil 4.
What's side A? What are we guessing?
Side A is Silent Hill 2. That's the one we're guessing.
Okay.
B is Resident Evil 4. C, Dead Space. All great games.
Oh, it feels like, I'm going to be honest with you. I completely forgot why we started talking about Dead Space until right now, where you reminded me of where it's part of the poll. Silent Hill is the one I'm like least attached to. I didn't play, or I played the least out of these 3. So I'm trying to figure out like if it's my bias that makes me think it's going to be the lowest here, or if that's just how the world is. I'm going to go with, a lot of people like that. Resident Hill is pretty popular. Resident Hill have eyes. I'm going to go with 27%.
27%.
Feel strong about that one.
On Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 was very scary about it. That game, I think, was like a PlayStation game. That might be the oldest one of the group. I'm not sure, but I think that was the first game I ever played that had like a grenade launcher in it.
Really?
Yeah. So EJ, to you, he guessed Silent Hill 2. 27% of people would pick that one, which would be obviously if everything were split evenly at 33%, that would be low. Do you think that number is over or under what the actual number was?
Oh man, we're talking video games. I don't know anything about video games.
That's the beauty of That's the beauty of this game, my man. It's just when you think
me
you know
every
what we're
time I turn on
about.
Jeopardy, I'm like, oh, these categories. I don't know anything
pretend
about
they're
these
fantasy
categories.
players.
The other
Just
beautiful
attach
part of
them to
this,
a player's name and
the other
talk
beautiful
about
part of this is it's Twitter, so it's it's just all
I'm
nonsense
about your
anyway.
guys' age, man. I grew up playing video games. I'm a 007 guy.
Nice. GoldenEye, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah, GoldenEye. Man, Zelda is the game. I was kind of paying attention a little bit. So when you say Zelda, it's over Zelda.
Oh man, Breath of the Wild is truly my #1 favorite game of all time. I can't stop playing it, and it's just scary enough.
Scary enough.
All right, so what do you think, EJ? Over or under on this one?
Over.
All right, and Simon, are you
Should've
feeling?
beat it.
Do you think the people like Silent Hill 2, or do you think they like lean into these other games a little more?
I think the people are just like me, and they loathe all of these games. And so there's a serious lack of votes on this one. Now, I will say I hate playing horror games, but I love watching people play horror games. Like one of my favorite college memories, it was a snow day, and Tim had just gotten the Evil Within, one of my roommates. And we just like sat on the couch and watched Tim go through the Evil Within. And it was almost like interactive. We would be like, go over there. No, look over there. No, like that's fun because then I wasn't holding the controller.
Simon's sitting on the couch watching like this, like through one, like he's covering his face and watching through his eye like that.
100%. I'm gonna take the under here. I think Resident Evil's gonna garner a lot of those votes, and I'm gonna take the under.
All right. So we have a couple guesses in the chat. Tommy Get in the Game says 12. Jordan Loop says 21. He thinks Dead Space will be the lowest. That is probably the lesser known of them. And then Albert in the chat saying, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Albert.
So let's get to
Simon,
this one.
Yo, blackjack to get your points.
Jordan Loop says Bowser haunts his nightmares. Talking about playing Mario.
Scared of Bowser.
All right. So the actual answer on this one, JL said 27%. The actual answer was 29%.
Whoa!
Again, bringing the hammer, and that's actually going to give EJ 2 points for hitting the over, and Simon 0. You do have
let me
those.
get this straight. I've been playing for 3 polls now, 3 full polls, right?
You've been playing for almost 4 years now.
I even got to guess on one of them. I have 0 points. EJ comes up one time, gives one over under guess,
about video
says
games.
I don't know shit about video games for this one, and he's already beating me. Like I'm losing 2-0 to EJ already after
beating
one poll.
Yeah. And I actually, because EJ came in late, 2 polls had already happened. I gave AJ 5 points, so he actually has 7 points now, and JL has 10, and you have 0 or 21, depending on which version of the
blackjack.
Game, depending on whether we're playing the butthole version or not of this game. All right, let's go back to football because it's something that EJ knows a little bit something about, right, bud?
I'm actually messing with you guys. I know everything about.
What the hell, bro?
Sandbagging son of a gun.
He's like, I designed Silent Hill 2. I'm the lead designer.
He actually, he's the guy behind the IGN account. Like he ran this poll. All right, let's get this. What's been the biggest surprise?
Who's this going towards, Coop? Is EJ answering this one?
So EJ's going to answer this one. EJ, we'll have you answer this one. This is an NFL question, which is what most people come here for. They don't really get much of it because it's mostly nonsense on this show.
We are idiots.
Because we're pretty stupid.
You guys are good.
Yeah, we're all right. We're all right. So, okay. What's been the biggest surprise on this NFL Sunday, week 6? So just this week, not on the season, just this past week. Side A, this is the side you're guessing the percentage on. Pittsburgh beating Tampa Bay. Side B, the New York Giants beating the Ravens. Side C, New York Jets beating the Packers. Or side D, the Atlanta Falcons beating the San Francisco 49ers. So all those are pretty wild. So you got to pick which one was the biggest surprise. Steelers over Bucks as side A, Giants over Ravens, Jets over Packers, or Falcons over 49ers. So what percentage of people on this poll, EJ, picked the Steelers beating the Buccaneers?
Out of the 4 of those, I can rank.
That's probably the best way to do it. The JL strategy.
Let's see here. As a diehard Packers fan, everyone with survivor pools, I talked to people in survivor pools. Packers were a big pick last week. So I would want to say that's a big surprise. But when you said the Bucks and losing to the Steelers, I don't think that's as big of a surprise. I know it's Kenny Pickett's first game at home. He's played in that stadium his whole college career. I want to say that we expected Tom Brady to break out of a shell. We expected Rodgers to break out of a shell, and this is what we got last week. No, that didn't happen. But as in percentage, man, so out of the 4, so I want to say the highest one would be people were thinking the Packers would rout the Jets. That would be my highest one. I added numbers. I don't know what number to say, man.
So
if you have
the trick JL usually does is that, like, if you say each one's 25%, like if you think the Jets Packers is going to be the highest one, then you would, maybe guess lower for the first one. So, or if you think nobody picked one of the other ones, then you would have, more to go around for the other options.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise is the Falcons. No one thought they would win. This is an amazing question, man.
Tough question, yeah.
It's a really hard question. They all should be almost equal. They should all be 25.
That's a great strategy, man. If you throw something like that out, that could work. So what do you think for which one? What do you think for the percentage for the top one? The Steelers over Tampa.
I want to say that's probably the highest one. People have high expectations for Brady coming in there and righting the ship. So I want to say that's probably around 30%.
30%. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to, is it JL next? JL, is it going to be over or under 30% for the people saying the Steelers beating Tampa Bay was surprising?
I'm going to go with over. I think the first one, the Pittsburgh one, and I think the 49ers are going to be the big ones here. The 2 middle ones are non-factors. So I think those 2 endpoints are going to get shot up here. I think I'll take the over.
Got the over on that. Simon, over, under 30%.
First of all, EJ just walked out under this like beautiful awning with vines growing over it, like just gorgeous setting where you are. And I wish I walked in my backyard. I walk out and it's like, whose tire is
garden,
that?
man. I'm a gardener.
It's beautiful.
Hell yeah.
Where are you calling from?
Yo,
sick garden, bro.
I can't even get grass to grow at my house. That is beautiful. I'm so
Gotta
jealous.
stop peeing on it, Simon.
I know. I don't want my dog to feel self-conscious. So every time he pees outside, I pee with him.
I stand with you.
So it tells me you're a little bit south of where I live because it's a little too cold for that move where I'm at.
I'm in Florida, man.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, Simon, over under. Let's go. Let's get this going.
Over under 30%. You know what? For the reasons it's Kenny Pickett's first home game, Tom Brady's got the high expectations. I'm going to take the over on this one.
Over.
Like I know that was a guess making it more popular, but all of these were shocking. People love Tom Brady, so I'm going to take the over. I'm with EJ here.
A lot of upsets this week. Steelers over Bucks, Giants over Ravens, Jets over Packers, Falcons over 49ers. The number one in the poll, EJ initially said it, was Jets over Packers at 41%. That's a big number there. But the one we were guessing, Steelers at Tampa Bay, 28%. So EJ
only 2 percentage points off.
And Swansea Sea Snakes guessing 29% was able to sneak his way in between there with a little somebody's closer. Yeah, we had 18% by Tommy. So amazing guess there. That's another 5 points. JL, you guessed over. You both guessed over, so you both get no points. Lose.
Get nothing.
Yeah. So with that brings, I mean, if we were giving him 5 points for joining and jumping late, that brings him to 12. JL at 10, Simon at 0, putting
Blackjack
TJ in the lead here.
Second place, right where I belong.
That's pretty impressive. We're gonna finish this one up. We'll go to a final one after this when we get back, where we write down the answers. So stick with us. We're gonna be right back here on the Better Sports Network with a little more poll perception shortly.
Absolutely. EJ, thanks so much for coming on with us.
6 hits.
Appreciate you dropping
the
some
2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it. Throws. Bartlett picks the perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's mobbed by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up and in. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson the carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the bank, and you're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Laser catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Laser has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downey, swinging, there's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron. The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Better Sports Network.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back into the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. When that drop in particular ends, that music, I want to just like broodingly look off into the distance and be like, we're here. We're back. It makes me want to get like a little bit more like subtle with it, a little bit more sultry and a little bit more mysterious.
Howdy, partners.
Like I'm sad, but I'm sexy is what I want that to say.
I feel
Sounds
like
a line. Sad, but I was gonna say sounds like a line from Alanis Morissette, like sad but I'm sexy.
I just feel like you can apply but I'm sexy to anything Simon says, and it applies.
Yeah. Scott Fish in the chat. The first Silent Hill game was creepy with the snow or ash falling at the beginning. You reminded me of that, and it's definitely ash, dude. I think it is ash.
I have a random kind of fun fact about that. Silent Hill was actually the first game that was able to create graphics that did that like fog effect. That was like something that wasn't like they weren't able to do before in video games. It was just like took too much to render it. And Silent Hill was the first one that figured out how to like do that. You guys ever notice in video games where like as you start to walk, like things in the distance will be blurry and they start to kind of become clear render.
Except in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, well, Breath of the Wild is a perfect example of like other end of this where it's like insanely everything is so detailed that renders everything. But back then, Silent Hill was the first one that really like went ham on the graphics. No other game had done that before.
So it's funny you mentioned that, JL, because when I wasn't listening to you guys earlier, I was Googling the Silent Hill 2 remake because I was like, this is going to be crazy. And it says that this article that came up said Silent Hill 2 will push your PC to the limits. And the system spec requirements are like, like things that like graphic cards that came out in like 2018. And the very first picture is this picture of him like out in this like amazing looking fog, dude. So
yeah, the fog is like just from a computer perspective, algorithm perspective. It's like it's very hard to do. That's like definitely processor intensive. So
it looks like they're leaning back into that pretty hard. So if you want to play Silent Hill 2,
it's just all fog. You can't see anything the whole time. It's just
a fog simulator.
It's like you trying to get out of a dark room.
Unless you upgrade your PC, you're gonna be playing Fog Simulator 3. So,
I did see Sky Near with another question. He said, I can't figure out how to 100% Breath of the Wild. I've beaten all the bosses. I've done all the side quests. The main quest is done. I've gotten all of the shrines and I'm missing just some Korok seeds. I think what it is, Scott, is it's the most boring part of the game. It's filling up your Hyrule compendium. You have to take pictures of all of the different items in the game. You have to complete your Hyrule compendium. I am back playing.
You're back into it.
I'm back into it. I got back into it a couple weeks ago. Started another playthrough, but Scott, it's the compendium. I've been trying to do a better job of keeping up with it this playthrough. That way, it's not like something I never do because at the end I don't want to run around for hours just taking pictures of things. But that's where we're at.
As the host of Poll Perception today, I got to get this back on track, get us back on the rails here. First, Squirrel Bob in the chat wants to know half point PPR. He's got Michael Gallup. He's got Kareem Hunt. Who you boys starting this?
Yeah.
Here's what we got the matchups. Gallup is going up against the Detroit Lions, I believe, and that's in Dallas. Kareem Hunt is going up against the Ravens. So Kareem Hunt, as we know, usually he benefits from negative game scripts because he's the pass catching back, and the Ravens are favored by 6.5. So it is a Kareem Hunt game. What are you guys thinking on that one?
I'm going Hunt in this one. And it's just Dak's first game back. We haven't seen much from Gallup so far this season. I know Kareem Hunt in a game script like this can be a 2-touchdown upside kind of guy, right? Like that's the kind of player that he can be now. That being said, I don't know what the Browns were doing offensively last week. They were hardly running the ball. Hopefully they get back to what they're good at this week, like learn their lesson, because that was like an embarrassing offensive performance with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt available. I'll go Kareem Hunt, but come on, get it together, Browns. Together.
They ran into the Bailey Zappi buzzsaw, bro. I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do, dude, when the saw comes down. That's why they couldn't run it, because the other team had a rookie quarterback. So
Bailey Zappi.
Yeah. JL, are you on board with that?
Absolutely not. I would go Gallup. It is close. So I'm being hyperbolic here, but I would go Gallup over Hunt. It feels like Gallup has more upside in this matchup. Detroit Lions defense isn't fantastic. If we get Jeff Okuda, he's probably going to be on CeeDee Lamb if he's going to be shadowing anybody. Michael Gallup got 7 targets last week, I think 5 the week before, coming back with Cooper Rush. So I'll take the upside. There's risk with Dak, but it's also the wide receiver too. If Dak is good, Michael Gallup presumably would be the wide receiver too in the team.
Yeah. Hal saying the same thing. Jeff Okuda on Lamb. I like that, especially if Dak is back. I'm with you on Gallup. If Dak doesn't play, maybe you go with the safe play in Kareem Hunt, but I like Gallup this week. All right, let's wrap up this poll perception with a final question here. EJ, that was my fault with the timing. Not used to hosting and ran us up against a break, so had to let you go there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 7 points that EJ scored, give them to Simon, which is going to bring the score 10 for JL, 7 for Simon. That means anyone can win. You guys ready for
shout out?
So now it's really.
EJ was saying, thanks, guys, for the hang. We'll try to join another. Thanks for joining, man. That's a ton of fun.
Thanks for joining. It makes it a lot more fun when you guys join. And some of you guys are knocking them
Show
out.
Us your garden, guys.
You know,
we want to see your garden.
Swansea Sea Snake was within 1 on that one. Like, Skins, call in, get on the show next time we play one of these games. It's a lot of fun. All right. So do you guys have something to write on?
I have so much to write on. You have no idea.
Ooh, is that a little trash talk, Jail?
How
much do you have to write on?
I have nothing right now. I feel naked.
The options are honestly overwhelming. I'm looking around at all the different things I could write on. Man.
I'm starting to think you might not have something to write on. I have a sneaking suspicion that neither of you have
so many things to write on. I'm not looking to find anything to write on at all. I've got so much paper and notebooks that I've got it ready.
I love that you were like, you know what? I'm just gonna bring the entire box to my office.
You know why? You know why it's in my office? To my desk because they're mine. I don't share those.
You're hiding them?
Those are just my Hostess coffee cakes. No one else.
You live with one other person.
I know, and they're mine.
He crawled under his bed, got the coffee cakes, brought them into his office. Right? Got them from your junk food stash under your bed, Simon.
Yeah.
All right, guys. No more fooling around. This is a serious show. Hey.
Yeah.
Look at me. This is serious.
NPR. Owls.
NPR.
Sponsored by Owls.
Break sponsored by the Forest. All right. Here we go. Here's your final question. This comes from Floor Slappers. Doesn't matter who they are, though, because it is there's no bias in this question. Do NFL coaches rely on analytics too much in these days? Do they rely on analytics too much? Side A, yes. Side B, no.
Side A, yes.
I love
Side B, no. So do they rely on analytics too much? In this case, people probably thinking, going forward on fourth down, punting, what plays to call, which way direction to go, things like that. Deciding whether to kick or receive, all that stuff is analytic stuff.
It's a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah, it's like almost like being a coach is not easy.
It's like it's tough or something.
Friend of mine, Matt Rule, just was like, you know what? This is not that easy.
This is not for me.
Friend of yours.
My buddy Matt, he's like, this is tough, dude. He's like, I brought in all the players I coached in college. Why aren't we winning?
I got my guess ready.
Work. Why isn't it working?
Robbie.
I love watching analytics.
Sorry, I just love the narrative that he just blames the entire thing on Robbie Anderson.
Robbie. They all did. They traded Robbie away too, right?
Robbie.
Robbie's the scapegoat. Robbie's just like the team meeting the next day is like, okay, guys, we got rid of the problem. Now we can start our season. Like, Robbie Anderson's like, what the hell, dude? Like,
what'd be great is Matt Rule fired Joe Brady, and then next year they hired Joe Brady back. And Joe Brady drafted Terrace Marshall, who he coached in college, and then Terrace Marshall's just a star. Like that would be the perfect timeline. It would be the perfect timeline for a lot of my dynasty teams. That's for sure.
I dropped Terrace Marshall in dynasty,
which is fine, dude. He wasn't even playing. Now he's playing again though. Now that Robbie's been fired. Guys, you guys have guesses ready? Do you have?
I got my guess ready
on your cupcakes. All right. So here was the question, everyone out there in the chat. Do NFL coaches rely on analytics too much? EJ says yes, by a landfall. Squirrel Bob says that he would personally say 78%. I'm guessing here, and then he says 54% because people might not lean the same way. So yeah, what do you guys think? This is your answer for yes. They rely on it too much. JL, very crisp looking 64. I like that.
And JL, we're in the same ballpark. I went
62.
62. And here's why I love this poll. I love this because numbers don't lie. Numbers do not lie. Numbers tell the truth. Like when they're looking at it, if you have a better chance to win this game going forward on fourth down, you have a better chance of winning this game going forward on fourth down. That just is the fact. And the people get in the comments, they're like, I don't care what the number says. That guy's an idiot. They just get so worked up about it. You're fighting a losing fight, man, because one side is numbers and one side is you, the jackass who thinks he knows everything.
What percentage of scientists do you think rely too heavily on gravity?
That the best part of that about the internet is that there's a lot of people out there that are like, gravity's not real, dude. Earth is flat, dude.
It's all me, bro. Earth's not
just kept on the ground by
myself on this rock.
It's the birds flapping their wings that holds people down on the earth. It's the downward airflow from the wings flapping. That's why birds exist.
Did you see the
government?
Every time a bird flaps its wings.
Did you see the birds aren't real protest that was held in New York City recently?
Yeah, they're spies. They're driving.
A lot of people were there, and there were counter protesters there with signs that said "birds are real." And I was like, "You really had to show up and defend birds here." Yeah. So, question: do coaches rely on analytics too much? Yes or no? Aside, yes. Simon guessed 62%. JL guessed 64%. Simon says that numbers don't lie, and guess what? They don't. The answer was exact 62%, which is what Simon guessed. On the nose.
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed.
I need
well done, Simon.
JL, you would get. Again not super familiar with the rules, but you would get nothing.
I get nothing.
And you would get.
I get the satisfaction.
You get 10, right?
I was 2 percentage points away.
What do you get for getting exactly right?
Exactly right.
So with
10 points.
I mean, that would tie you at 10, but since I gave EJ's points to Simon, that would make Simon the winner.
It's a team game. Me and EJ took home the W. Shout out to EJ for getting me up to 7 points.
Basically, what just happened is Simon got the first place at a swim meet, and then he looked on the back and it said disqualified.
100%.
That's what exactly
what
if we were playing that butthole version, he would have like 38 points, 38 points. Probably one of the more high scoring games.
Full perception butthole edition.
Yeah,
guys, we got our friend Hal joining us right now. Hal, what's up? Are you with us?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up? Welcome in. Hal, I'm curious, before we get into anything else, how do you feel about the use of analytics in football? Which side of this poll do you lie on if you were voting on it? Do you think coaches rely too heavily on it, or are you more on the run those numbers, do it by the books?
Can I have a more nuanced answer than yes or no? Because
absolutely, I would know.
Analytics make tons of sense. Coaches are idiots and don't know how to use them because they're like, oh, I should go for it on 4th down. Let's throw the ball 10 yards down the field to get a yard.
Yeah, okay. That's a good point. Like the analytics say go for it, but maybe they don't say chuck it 13 yards down the field to get one.
Or like,
yard.
hey, let's give it to my backup fullback instead of Austin Eckler.
Yeah. I've had that same thought whenever I see them, like they'll go for 4th and 1 and then they'll miss on like a 15-yard, like Mike Williams will run 15 yards and they'll just miss him. It's like, wow, it seems more difficult than just doing the whole OBJ slant move,
Right. Like, why don't they use analytics not only to decide what to call a play or not, but use the analytics to decide what play to call?
Yeah. That is the right way.
Why did you stop?
That's the right way to do it for sure.
Then the robots on the other team are going to be able to figure out what you're calling based on the analytics, though. Got to keep
calling Bill Belichick.
You should go into a full feedback loop where you're like, this is the play they think we're going to call, so we have to call this one. But then they're going to know that we're going to call that one, so we have to call a different one. By the time
there would be the counter argument to analytics right there.
Right. And by the time you get that figured out, you realize that Samaje Perine's still in the game, and you just have to call a run play, and then you lose the Super Bowl, right? Like that's basically how that happened.
Perine.
Well, he did.
So, these coaches need to know what analytics are and what they say, and not think about it at all during the game. It just needs to be inherently part of their coaching skill set, not something that they have to actively think about.
Yeah, the coaches just have one analyst guy that's like there, and he just like he's calling the plays, and he goes, "What's the analytics say?" And the guy comes over and shows him a number, and he slaps it out of his hand.
Thumbs up.
Says, no, yeah, right, like. Just an
analyst gotta have that scapegoat.
Just get smacked around. Yeah, the scapegoat. Be like that nerd told me not to go for it, but I did anyway, and we won the game.
Speaking of nerds,
did Robbie Anderson have analytics?
Something tells me he did not. Something tells me Robbie Anderson might not exactly be a big math guy.
Hal, I saw you in the chat talking up some Chase Edmonds, saying that you wanted to start him over Latavius Murray this week. And then you had a question about Chase Edmonds as well. How are you feeling about that, dude? It sounds like you're maybe high on him, excited about Edmonds' potential.
No, I'm super, super out on Chase Edmonds. He's the backup. But he got dropped in a 14-team super flex league. So that makes him way more intriguing.
Yeah.
He's been losing snap share since the beginning of the season. Mozart, the man, he's got speed like there's no tomorrow, but they still want to use 2 backs for their passing downs. So it looks like Edmonds will still get that work.
Raheem Mostert, the one thing about that is Raheem Mostert could be the most injury-prone running back since Arian Foster, right? Like this guy, without fail, has missed games with a serious injury pretty much every year. So, I will say
and they're running him a lot too.
Here's a list of injuries this guy has had: hamstring strain, shoulder strain, arm fracture, knee sprain, MCL sprain, high ankle sprain in the following season, knee injury, and then chipped knee cartilage, of which he missed 19 games for. So quite a list of injuries for this guy. So Raheem Mostert, it's hard to predict injuries, but if you're going to predict them, I'd start with that guy.
And then Denver's such a mess. Like, who knows? Melvin Gordon's apparently the starter again.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. That's one where I'm already spooked by the Denver offense. Melvin Gordon, I'm assuming like he's better than Latavius Murray. I'm hands off on Latavius Murray. If I have to start one of those guys, it's Melgo. But man, yeah, Murray scares me. He got the work, but them coming out and just saying straight up, Gordon's the starter. And then after how upset Gordon was last week, it seems like it's going to be a week where they're just like, give Gordon the ball. Like it's just going to be a Melvin Gordon week. It feels like.
Of those three, I'm starting Chase Edmonds in a league that deep. We're starting this many guys. I'm starting Chase Edmonds. I'm starting Chase Claypool, and I'm starting Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd he ran 44 or 45 routes last week. At any given time, he's a threat to give you something. And in a league like that, that's all you can really ask for.
I still have to start one of the running backs too.
Oh yeah, I was avoiding that question. If you want someone to answer a difficult question like that, call back at 3:00 today. Ask for Nando DeFino and have him answer that.
I told you that Nando banned me from the show.
We're just sending people to Nando and he's banning them. That's perfect. Yeah. Okay.
It's actually a whole ploy that we run with Nando to get rid of the difficult questions.
Just try and convince people to stop asking difficult questions.
We send them to Nando. Nando bans them. They come back here and we're like, I can't believe Nando did that to you, man. What?
If you're in a 14-team league asking difficult questions about two different RB3s, please call. Yeah.
RB3s? That was generous.
Generous, right? Yeah. Okay. So, boys, all seriousness, if you're in this situation, say it's a Scott Fish Bowl, which is a super deep league, are you starting Chase Edmonds or are you starting Latavius Murray? Give it to me straight.
Edmonds. I'm starting Edmonds. I'm with Scott Fish came in. His classic phrase, squeaky mouse gets the cheese. I think Melvin Gordon was a real squeaky mouse, and he's going to get all the cheese this week. So I'm going Chase Edmonds, even though I'm not happy about it. Like, I'm not sitting there going like, oh, he's going to kill it this week. It's like, well, at least it's not Latavius Murray is the decision-making process.
They called him a clown on the Jumbotron.
Here's my favorite part about fantasy. I almost cried Wednesday morning because I missed out in Fab on Taylor Heineke.
That's tough, dude.
Man, that is nothing beats those self-aware moments where you're like, yeah, I care a lot about this.
Here are the rushing yards for Chase Edmonds over the last 3 games. 6, 1, 3.
Yeah, great, beautiful. What else do you need from your RB2? 6
yards.
Have
3
at least
targets,
that half point per carry.
3 targets, 2 targets, and 2 targets in those games. So he's doing a little something. I don't know. I think I have to start with Latavius Murray, no matter how much Melvin Gordon's crying about the Jumbotron.
Yeah, I'm going to go Latavius Murray as well, just because, they gave him a lot of work.
Very
first week last week, and he's got the Jets this week, which is middle of the pack against running back. But the upside for me, Latavius Murray, if they give him that amount of opportunities again, it's going to be better than Edmonds.
Absolutely. I also saw in here when we were talking Gallup versus Hunt for this week, you came in the chat house saying Jeff Okudah is going to shut down Lamb, and no, they can't stop anyone besides Okudah. Or
my grammar sucks.
No, you're good, but it sounds like you're saying Okudah is going to stop Lamb. No one else is going to be able to stop anyone. So maybe you think Gallup's going to eat this week? Like this is a Gallup week?
This is a Gallup week all day. Gallup's going to go for 100 and a touch.
100 and a touch. I like it.
Like Lamb's going to catch 3 balls if he can catch because he uses his body and not his hands, and he's going to be covered by Okunda. Okunda held Jefferson to 2 catches. So Lamb's not as good as Jefferson.
No, I was curious right now. I was trying to look up some of the Michael Gallup player props this week, see like what he's at for getting a touchdown. If we could get that, he's at plus 430 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to be an anytime touchdown scorer. That sounds like some good juice on that one. You like that one, Hal?
I do like that, but it also tells you if this was any other week, he'd be sitting at plus 600. plus 650. Vegas thinks that he's going to get it.
4-1 is nice, boy. I'm on that. Tommy's on too. Says giddy up, gallop, yip, skiddly do.
Yip, skiddly do.
You know how you do that is you parlay that with the Dallas win and the over.
Parlay that with Dallas win. Yeah, that's a nice little parlay you got going right there. Man, I'm just looking at all.
Oh, and I'm a Lions fan. I just know how the game's going to go.
That parlay probably pays out 10-1, I imagine. Maybe,
and it's not even
maybe 6
crazy.
7-1. Yeah.
I saw a video of a little kid with like chocolate all over his face, and he had a Lions hat on. He's sitting at the table, and his dad walks up and goes, "Are the Lions going to win this week?" And he goes, "No." And then just takes another bite of his chocolate, like smiling, perfectly happy. But like, it's like young age. He's fully aware. Dude knows ball. Like he knows ball. He knows they're not taking home the W, but he's still happy to be a Lions fan. He's got that winning culture in him. We're just eating chocolate, enjoying the losses. It was cracking.
So, real question: if you see a kid with a Lions jersey on, do you like call CPS on their parents?
You said no. I shove them to the ground.
You better get used to this. White's going to keep doing it.
It depends which jersey it is. If it's a custom jersey, I'm absolutely shoving that person to the ground.
If it's a Barry Sanders jersey, then I give him a shake of the hand, firm hand.
DJ Shark, I'm going to give him some money because it sounds like they probably need some help.
Anybody else, shove them to the ground.
If it's a Kerryon Johnson jersey, then I give him some money because honestly, they got that off the clearance rack.
Yeah.
You want to listen to 3 Hall of Famers that the Lions ran out of town? Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson,
yikes,
and Bill Belichick. He started as a tight end coach with the Lions.
Classic.
Bill Belichick.
That's a big whoopsie. Scott Fish says Barry, my favorite player all the time. Wore his jersey all the time. My favorite player growing up as well. Big fan of Barry. Said that yesterday on the show. Massive Barry fan.
The Silver Streak.
Barry Sanders.
Nicknames were solid.
I got Scott Fish in the chat saying, my son for Superflex, Scott Fishbowl 12 said, no thanks to Heineke and grabbed Howell for free, saying that Wentz isn't good and they'll want to see what Howell is before their high pick next year. And I became Michael Scott looking at Toby, so annoyed I didn't make that move. Dude, we got 9-year-old Ian Fish making like sharp moves on the waiver wire. He's like
Ian's out here playing like 3D, 5D chess, and the rest of us are playing Hungry Hippos, picking up.
The rest of us are playing fantasy football.
So does he just listen to his dad and you guys and do the opposite?
No, he's got like beat reporters calling him at like 6 a.m, giving him the scoop, I think.
Yeah. We can't even get Ian on the show at this point. He's like, already been on. He was on the show with Howard Bender, the Fantasy Alarm show, crushing. So he's out of our superstar. He's out of our range. Yeah, he's a stud.
Hal, I want to thank you so much for coming up and talking with us today. Appreciate you, man.
Have a good one, guys. Appreciate the show.
Have a good one,
brother. Good dude,
guys. Coming up, we are going to be talking about this Thursday night football game. Saints and Cardinals going head to head. And then our friend Randy Santel, Competitive Eaters, coming on the show a little bit later today as well. You're listening to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Better Sports Network.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. Decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fenstey's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fenstey doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
Eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like, what was it, like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's the equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got this steak sandwich, which was
steak sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You're
I'm not an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that. No,
Alfredo, that's what he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse and get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look.
The name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles.
Call, chat, enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network.
Hey, you're back with the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We got a football game tonight, boys. It is the New Orleans Saints at the Arizona Cardinals.
Can I just say real quick? I love that commercial, the one that played during the break with Fensty and Ronas, where he's like, will you at least admit that you made a mistake? Like that, that commercial cracks me up, man. Those guys are hilarious. You got to check them out. They're 5 to 7 on this channel, dude. Too funny.
It gets me every time whenever he says, I didn't know it was all waffles, bro.
Called the Waffle
I've
House.
listened to that
dude.
thousands of times so far, that little commercial, but this time that stood out to me as well, Simon. I was cracking up at that. I'm like, I didn't know it was all waffles, bro.
I want to start mixing that into my everyday, my everyday terminology.
It was all waffles, bro.
Like when you're shocked by something, you just throw that out as a general expression. I'm going to start using it. People have no idea what we're talking about.
Those dudes are funny, man.
Absolutely hilarious. We had some questions in the chat before we start talking about this Thursday night football game, Saints at Cardinals. Nick in here. What's up, Nick? Nick wanted to know, should I start David Montgomery or Travis Etienne this week? So David Montgomery or Travis Etienne.
Did he say it was half or full PPR? Did he say?
I don't know. He did not say. For their matchups, David Montgomery's playing up against the New England Patriots. You knew that, Coop. And Travis Etienne going up against the New York Giants this week. Where are you guys going, Monty or Etienne?
Pat's been okay against the run, but Joe.
So I'll go Montgomery over Etienne. Etienne, like you said, Giants have been pretty good against the run, and Etienne feels like I'm just being trolled by Etienne because it feels like every week he's just getting just enough to be valuable, but not having his breakout week. I think his upside is limited in a sense there. David Montgomery, they're just feeding him, right? Even him coming out of the injury, they're just feeding David Montgomery.
JL has so much Etienne. He's like, JL, I picture you being like Squidward up in the window and you're looking down at the Breece Hall owners, just having a blast. And you're you look over at Etienne, you're like, do you see? Do you see?
Why can't you be like
I feel like it's the same situation though. It's I feel like he could be, right? Etienne, Breece Hall, similar skill sets in my opinion.
Every week I'm like, is this the Etienne? Is this the week that it's just gonna pop off? Because it feels like every week I'm saying guys, just wait, there's potential is there. And then every single week I'm like, no, not quite. Not quite. No.
Yeah, but hey, for the time being, I'm with you on that. Dave Montgomery is the starter. They lean into him. He gets, the bulk of the work. He played 56 to 72 snaps. Can't ask for much more from your running back. So you got to start David Montgomery this week and just keep watching Etienne out that window. Hopefully,
it is not past Etienne season. It is still David Montgomery season. You're gonna have to wait a little bit for that season to be upon us.
It's coming.
I'm sorry. I know we've all been patiently waiting, but it is coming. It'll be there before you know it. But plug David Montgomery in. Another question in here. This one came from Mark. Mark wants to know, should I trade D-Hop and Akers for Debo? So DeAndre Hopkins and Cam Akers for Debo Samuel. Coop, would you be doing this trade?
D-Hop and Akers for Debo. Now, if you're not, I think if you're not using Akers at all and you have no intention, even through the bye weeks, like you kind of go through your bye weeks and look at how it's shaking out. If you have no intention of ever using Akers at all, then do the trade, because I think it is a slight upgrade from D-Hop to Debo. But if you go through your schedule and there would be a week where you would put Akers in at the RB2 or the flex, then I would stay pat, because it's not that big of an upgrade in my eyes. But it is an upgrade, but not like a huge upgrade. What do you guys think?
I'm probably staying pat. Like, because of what you just said, I think it's close enough. D-Hop has some serious upside. And Akers, if he lands on a new team, like, I know there's lots of teams struggling at running back right now. Like, there's been quite a few running back injuries, some disappointments. Like, I'm holding on to that D-Hop Akers side, I think. I agree with you. Debo maybe slightly better, but they're in the same tier for me rest of the season. I'll take the one with the little extra piece, the running back that could become relevant somewhere else.
Debo and D-Hop are in the same tier, Simon, you're saying?
Yeah.
Rest of the season. So I think that's where we maybe differ. Is I view Debo as a much higher tier than DeAndre Hopkins. Not that DeAndre Hopkins isn't as talented, but more so, I think it's unclear whether he's gonna, like, what his role is going to be in this offense and what he's going to do be able to do from a fantasy perspective. I mentioned it before, but the last time we saw DeAndre Hopkins in this offense, it wasn't really clicking. So I'd be worried there. And Cam Akers, I think, is, I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there. I would go to the Debo side of this. I think it's a slam dunk on that side.
Slam dunk on that side.
Big
Man,
dunk.
Disrespect
One of those
to
ones where
DeAndre
they
Hopkins.
go between the legs.
Wow, dude. He's wowing him.
That would be We got another question here from Brendan. Brendan wants to know, so got Singletary. Oh, sorry, Joe. What's up?
Before I saw Dustin came in earlier, I shouted him out, but we were, I think I got talked to. What up, Dustin? Welcome in. He said, why are the commercials so loud? Yeah, Keith, tell us. Why are the commercials so loud?
Are they loud? I
don't. They might be. Let us know in the chat if they're too loud.
Let us know in the chat if they're too loud. Smash that fun button if the commercials.
Good morning, Dustin.
Smash that fun button if the commercials are hurting your ears.
We needed a please stop button. So when there's like too much nipple talk, the audience can hit please stop.
If the commercials have been damaging your eardrums, smash that fun button. Hit like and subscribe. But seriously, if it is a problem, let us know. We'll have somebody go to Keith's house and be
anything like that. Like, share those things with us for sure.
Brendan had a question, I believe.
Yeah, Brendan had a question for us. He said, got Singletary and Jamar for Sutton, ETN, and Hendo in full PPR from the 0-6 guy in our league. Some people are saying it's an unfair trade, but he needs more depth pieces. Is this fair? So we got Singletary and Jamar for Sutton, ETN, and Henderson in full PPR from the team that's 0-6. I mean, I like your side better. Give me Singletary and Jamar Chase instead of Sutton, ETN, and Henderson, but I don't think this is collusion. This is with like this isn't collusion. The other people can think this is unfair all they want, but it's fair enough. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing sneaky going on here. I like your side better, but yeah, it's fair enough to go through as a trade.
Yeah, Brendan, I will record if your league mates are giving you a hard time saying it's unfair. I will record a video shitting on them that you can send to them.
That's the thing, man.
Simon's absolutely right.
Unless you can prove that these guys are colluding and have some plan to split the pot, you got to let people trade, especially people that are 0-6. Like, if you veto this trade and that guy loses this week, his season's over. You know what I mean? Like, you go 0-7, you're pretty much dust, right? So you can't stop those people from trading and trying to give themselves a chance. If all three of those guys go into his lineup this week, you can't veto the trade.
Nope. Yeah. I agree with you.
And EJ says it's not collusion, but it doesn't help the 0-6 guy. I disagree. I disagree. He's got Singletary and Jamar Chase for Sutton, ETN, and Henderson. If you're 0-6, it might make sense to divest from a high trade value asset like Jamar Chase, who is a wide receiver. He's the type of player you're not going to get it every single week. It might make sense to divest for more safer pieces, right? Like, I don't know how to say this. More safer pieces sounds so stupid, but it's the only way I can think of how to describe it.
Yeah, those are great words.
Swansea Sea
More
Snakes in the
safer
chat,
pieces.
alluding to my big hometown league, a trade that went down at one point that involved a steak and cheese sub. One of many controversies in that league. So if you know that there's some sort of steak and cheese sub being involved in the trade, that is collusion, and that trade's gonna have to be vetoed. So yeah, we've had that happen. We had a number of scandals within that league, one of which involved Swansea Sea Snakes himself which we refer to as the Manhattan Killer Bees incident, where he had a team, the Manhattan Killer Bees, that, we did the draft. This is when we were so young that like we didn't even know what we were doing. So we had like one team in the league that was just like auto drafted. I think we were like 14 or 15 or something. Yeah, we were like 3. So, dude, Skinner forgets his password to the Manhattan Killer Bees. So he commandeers the other team, names it the Manhattan Killer Bees with an A, and then halfway through the season remembers his password, and those teams start making fair trades between each other. Now that situation is about as illegal as it gets. The Manhattan Killer trading with yourself after forgetting your password. So yeah, the steak and cheese incident, the Manhattan Killer Bees incident. We also had Cobbgate over a shady Randall Cobb trade. Just that league is one of the worst leagues, and also my favorite one.
It's the worst thing for collusion. Everyone's cheating, but I love it.
Everyone's cheating, dude.
We had one more question here. Wanted to know, what do y'all think Greg Dortch's chances of becoming relevant again are? JL, you're the resident Dortch truther. What do you think about Mr. Dortch? Also, this comes from a West Texas beekeeper. You live my greatest fear on a daily basis. I have so much respect for going in and removing those beehives, taking care of those bees, because I know they're important. I know I love them, but boy, do I not want to be near them. Like one of them, that is terrifying. But what do you think Greg Dortch's chance of becoming relevant again are?
Yeah, Greg Dortch. I mean, we talked about this when he was in. Rondo Moore was injured earlier on in the season, and I remember we had this conversation around, was Greg Dortch going to take over the Rondo Moore's job because he's been playing well. And now that we have 3 games or so of Rondo Moore coming back, seeing that draft capital does matter. Dortch was more of a fill-in guy because his snap percentage the last 2 games, 6% Seattle week 6, 3% again week 5 against Philly. So yeah, I mean, not unless the situation changes. Greg Dortch is not someone I'm even really. I'd be dropping Greg Dortch in most formats, especially with Robbie Anderson getting there.
Yeah, they got Robbie Anderson. They got DeAndre Hopkins coming back. Greg Dortch
Hopkins played. Too,
He played 4 snaps last week, dude. Greg Dortch is more like Greg Dust, bro. Just forget about it.
Ooh, got him.
More like Greg Scorched. Because he's that's it. That's all I got.
More like
I'm not
Borched.
I'm not going Greg Dortch.
More like Greg Borched, am I right? Whatever that means. He's been porched. Back porched.
Yeah, it's front yard fantasy.
I'm trying to think of more words that rhyme, and I'm panicking. I'm like, nope, we already said torched, and we already said scorched, and did we say torched? I don't care, but that one's not funny. Like just running through all of them in my head. We're out of ideas.
Trick is we just throw an AOA out there and move on to the next stuff.
Yeah.
Scott Fish had a question in here, or not a question, a conversation topic. He said, Cookie Monster tweeted last week that his name is Sid, but he likes to be called Cookie Monster. Discuss. Respect to Cookie Monster. You know what? Like if he wants to be called Cookie Monster, I'll call him Cookie Monster because you know what he is? He's a Cookie Monster. It makes sense. I'm cool with it. Sid, yeah, that's a rough name. I don't want to go by Sid.
Who gave the designation to, like, did Cookie Monster start calling himself that? Is this like, self-deprecating type thing to fit in, not take himself too seriously? Or is this like people started calling him the Cookie Monster because he had an issue? So like a mean thing.
I think there's a third option. He calls it himself, and there is no self-deprecation involved. It's all self-love. He is the Cookie Monster, and he loves that he's the Cookie Monster. Like, I think it is
Is that the truth?
That's what I'm going with. I think it's a self-given name. Cookie Monster seems confident. Like, he knows who he is, and he's happy about it.
There are times where it's great to be a monster. Like, if we talked about UFC earlier, dude. I think these guys are always like, yeah, I'm a monster, dude. Nicki Minaj is like, I'm a motherfucking monster.
Sure.
And Tommy's in Sid Monster.
I'm a hell of a guy. Cool. Right. So yeah, and I think, to be honest, Sid, unfortunately, the movie Toy Story set that name back by like 100 years. Right.
Talk about terrifying. My God.
Right. Sid's Toys.
Or Sid from Toy Story 1. What's scarier?
Dude, that's Sid.
Slender Man or Sid?
Sid's Toys.
Well, and then to add to it, the next like Sid that's common in popular culture is Sid from Ice Age, who may be the ugliest animated character that's ever existed, right? Like he's terrifying to look at. He's got messed up eyes. Like
talking about looking at the sun and the moon at
bro.
the same time, right?
Like poor Sid. Like
in on Sid.
So you can pick like Sid from Ice Age or Sid from Toy Story, and that's what everyone's gonna think of.
What are you basing that off? Your human standards of beauty?
Sid might just what I like looking at.
Like
Sid from Ice Age bumbles around a bit, but he produces results.
He does.
Like in the end, he's our generation's Mr. Magoo. He makes it happen.
Isn't Sid like he's a player, isn't he? Isn't there like a whole arc with him like pursuing a romantic relationship?
Yes, where he lies to them and says that the human baby is his while he's sitting in a hot tub with multiple female sloths or whatever animals they are.
I'm just saying, Sid might be like the Brad Pitt of sloth world. You don't know.
Sid, Joe Mixon this year is basically Sid. He like it's ugly, but it gets the job done. It doesn't look pretty out there, but it's RB1, right?
RB1. I recently rewatched Ice Age, and I'm just gonna say it did not live up to my childhood standards. It was one of the movies where I rewatched and I was like, this doesn't hit the same. Like this doesn't quite have the same effect that it had whenever I watched it as a kid, which is always disappointing, right? Like when you turn on one of your favorite movies as a kid and it like doesn't hit the same. But the opposite's true as well. Like when you turn on a movie that you loved as a kid and it's like even better as an adult, that's a great feeling.
It was good.
Like
Hello.
Is that Sid?
This is the Cookie Monster.
Oh,
Cookie Monster. Can you tell us yourself why you choose to go by Cookie Monster instead of Sid?
No. Sorry, I eat cookie. So yes, I am the Cookie Monster. Yes, my full name Sigmund C. Cookie.
Sigmund C. Cookie.
Yes.
Is that a family name?
So you wanted people to know your name is Sid, but you don't prefer to be called Sid. You prefer Cookie Monster.
I eat so many cookies. It's good identity to have.
What is your favorite Cookie Monster?
So many cookies. So many cookies.
That is my favorite cookie as well. Is so many cookies.
Chocolate chip, classic, delicious, always.
Wow.
So this is a sports show, Cookie Monster. Not sure how you ended up here. It's kind of a Beetlejuice situation, perhaps. But what is? We do talk a lot of sports. What is your favorite? What's your favorite football team?
Me like Cleveland Brown because it looked like cookie.
That's really nice.
Big orange cookie.
Big orange. A nice pumpkin Halloween cookie, maybe.
Yes, love it. It's that time of year.
Pumpkin cookies? I don't think I've ever had a pumpkin cookie. Are pumpkin cookies good, Cookie Monster?
If you make them just right, a little bit of spice, not too much. Delicious cookie.
Cookie Monster, thank you so much for coming up today, giving us a little bit more insight behind the curtain. We were speculating. I didn't expect the man himself to show up.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anytime you need Sesame Street character, you call Cookie Monster, he get them on for you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Cookie Monster.
We have an in now. We have a man with boots on the ground on the street, on the Sesame Street. So
we got that Cookie Monster hookup. Cookie Monster, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Go eat some cookies.
I hope you get the support network that you need.
Now, he doesn't have a problem, Joe.
Like he's
it's only
doing
a problem
great,
if you think it's a problem.
I'm just saying, if he needs it, I hope he has it.
Tommy in the
I like
chat
how his
saying,
favorite cookie is so many cookies.
So many cookies.
Made himself giggle with that one.
Yeah.
Oh man, we got more questions. We might have to have him back at some point. Scott wants to know if he knows Grimace, and Tommy says we want Big Bird. We want Big Bird. We just start chanting for Big Bird over there.
I see Craig in the chat saying, if this is episode 39 of the FYF Morning Show, do we have any big plans for episode 50 coming up?
I feel like we should now. We will have an actual hog on the show as a guest.
What should we do? You tell us. What do you think we should do?
You know what I'm going to do as a special treat for you guys? Travel to Europe. And,
really?
And I'll call in from Europe for the big 50th episode. I will travel to Europe. I'm going to call in from Europe. I'm not sure what country I'll be in, but I'll have to look it up. But yeah, I can promise you I will do that, and only because it's our 50th episode.
Coop saying I don't know which Europe I'm going to be in, but I'll be on one of the Europes.
My Europe.
I'm going to send a nice video right there. Al in the chat says top 50 worst start-sit calls you guys have made. Top 50. Well, how about I got a confession? I'm not going to give you 50, but I'm going to give you one. I don't
remember a single one.
Remember last week how many times I asked, should I start Jerick McKinnon or Gerald Everett in the Scott Fish Bowl in my last flex spot? And everyone told me over and over again, you got to go with Gerald Everett. Keenan Allen is out. You got to go with Gerald Everett. You got to go with Gerald Everett. Well, I didn't go with Gerald Everett. The more people told me not to start Jerick McKinnon, the more it made me want to start Jerick McKinnon. I fully dug my heels in, and oops, McKinnon only had like 5 PPR points. It was not a good week for him. That one felt bad. That was one where I was like, God damn it, Jalen Cooper, right? And so was Joey, and so was Jay, and so was everyone in the chat, and I was the only one on the wrong side.
Oops. I got one from this past week. We have our Sunday, a pregame with FYF Sunday show from 11 to 1. And during the show, I was tinkering. I'll admit it. I was tinkering with my lineup. In our guillotine, our industry guillotine league, Simon, I was like, there's no way Mike Gesicki's going to do well this week. Like, what am I going to do? I'm so weak at tight end. Coop from week 1 has been telling me you're an idiot for still rostering Mike Gesicki. And all I got is Gesicki and Alberto. So I went to the waiver wire, and I was like, it's got to be someone better. So I picked up old Conklin. No, it wasn't Conklin. It was why am I blanking on his name? The Jets were a tight end. We were just talking about him earlier.
CJ Uzomah? The two Jets tight ends are Tyler Conklin and CJ.
Yeah,
Uzomah.
It is Conklin then. Sorry, it is Conklin.
You confused me when you said not Conklin.
I added Conklin. I benched Gesicki. Gesicki grittied all over me.
Ouchie, mouse. I actually just tweeted out that Tyler Conklin can be dropped in every format. We could start.
Did you guys see the guy? He must have taken it personally that Gesicki grittied for so long. Gesicki grittied all the way to the sideline. There was a guy who went live and said, I'm going to break the world record, and I'm going to gritty for 24 hours straight. He just stood in his living room doing the gritty on live stream for 24 hours. I don't even know if there's a real world record about that, but he probably has it for the longest gritty.
I give it to him.
Self-assigned.
He got it. You got it right there. And BFFL EJ saying I started Pickens over Lazard last week. Yeah, that one hurts a little bit as well. Guys, coming up, we're going to be breaking down this Thursday night football game. Maybe, if we feel like it. And then our friend and competitive eater, Randy Santel, is joining the show a little bit later as well. This is the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network.
Call, chat, and enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Better Sports Network. Moose and Keith.
Because I never asked you this. When Noah was growing up, when did Noah first where you got a sense that this is what my son wanted to do?
I was really busy during his formative years. I didn't meet Noah until he was about 19.
Nice. So, your wife did a good job.
Yeah, you may want to talk to your wife. I would say about 13, he started showing a legitimate interest. He started getting curious about how I prepared, what it required. And then I saw a little bit of a shift, 14, 15, where he was concentrating on the on-cameras, the interaction between play-by-play and analyst, and started probably taking mental notes at that point of the performance aspect of, okay, you do all this prep, but you got to go out and deliver it. So, yeah, probably that 14, 15 range, I thought to myself, this could be something he really wants to do.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Better Sports Network.
You don't need to be like right 100% of the time.
No, there was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out what speed these guys are running on the field. Yet somehow we still mark the ball by
That's my favorite.
A 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we can probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have satellite.
Like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line, But if you like, first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, it doesn't count. Sorry, couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And they bring out the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't.
And I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
I love that. It's and not to mention that dude's trying to make the spot, and the player always tosses the ball right into his face. Right, he's coming over to spot it, and it's every other time the player's just here you go. Here's another thing to juggle.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Is it me, Ray, or is the only publicity that Microsoft Surface has gotten out of their whole thing on the sideline is people throwing them to the ground in anger? Is that just a me thing? Or the only time I hear about this device, Ray, is when somebody is chucking it on the ground, just pissed off at it. Which I get it. All of us are in that world. We love to do that. Only in the NFL, Ray, can they get away with it because these are free. There's no cost. It's part of the sponsorship. Here's 5,000 Microsoft tablets to get you through the NFL season. And these players, Ray, just slamming them down. It's like they've become Gilbert on the sideline, and they're so frustrated. They're just the only publicity this company and this product has gotten is negative.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Welcome back in, everyone, to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show here on Better Sports Network. We're about to break down this Thursday night football game. Before doing that, though, we did have one question come in I wanted to hit. It was a good one. Jacob Self wanted to know, would you trade Miles Sanders and Tyler Lockett to receive Jamar Chase? Miles Sanders plus Tyler Lockett to receive Jamar Chase.
If your team is good enough that consolidating those assets to get Jamar Chase, that's going to give you a better edge and that makes your team better, then sure. But I imagine most situations, this isn't Jamar Chase is not likely to produce that much more than these two guys combined. That's more unlikely to happen.
If Miles Sanders is a guy that is on your bench or Tyler Lockett is, then I would do it. And the thing about Tyler Lockett is that this dude, he is one of the toughest dudes in the league. I've seen this dude go straight from the game to the hospital and play the next week. When you look up his numbers, this guy plays 15 or 16 games every single year. The problem is he's one of the dudes that plays through injury, and he's been banged up. So this past week, he's willing to go out there and play the entire game when he's hurt, and that's what it looks like, 2 catches or whatever. So I am a little worried about Tyler Lockett. He was playing unbelievable, but if he's going to be playing hurt, I don't know. I might just go with the sure thing in Jamar Chase.
I see some folks in it.
You're trading 2 questionable assets for 1 sure thing. If you are confident in the rest of your depth, then I would do it. I do that if I can.
If they're both starters, I'm not doing it. If at least one of them's on your bench, I'm doing it. That's basically what it comes down to for me.
If you're choosing between Miles Sanders and Lockett in the flex, then you might as well do the trade and get Jamar Chase in there.
Right. In that situation, it makes sense to consolidate. I see some people in chat, Hal saying such a loud commercial, and Scoreball saying every time dude commercials are so loud. Yeah, sorry about that. We'll try and get that fixed for the next show.
They are actually really loud, or is this now a meme?
Are the songs
either way?
Is any other part of it, or is it just the commercials that are coming across super loud? Let us know in the chat. Try and get it worked out.
Now be careful with that. They're going to start saying Simon is way too loud on this show. You don't say anything, just any of the other noises.
We can turn Simon down if enough of you ask.
Should we play
if
it
one
safe?
of you asked, honestly.
Should we play it safe and use our NPR voices?
Hello, welcome in to the Front Yard Fantasy Morning Show, brought to you
Ira
by
Glass.
Dictionaries.
Please donate to NPR so that people can continue listening to our cello solos that we play.
Hey, no shame to some cello solos.
Do you enjoy Silent but
Too loud?
Us too.
Too loud, Simon.
Too loud. Sorry.
How we love NPR too. That's why we don't. It's kind of like you are nice to people that you don't really know that well, but you kind of, you give your friends a hard time. We like NPR.
Yeah.
So we like to joke around with them.
Tiny Desk.
I listen to too much NPR. Wait, don't tell me. That's my jam. I love a game. And wait, don't tell me is like I can listen to the news and play games the entire time. Like it's a double whammy. I get my news via game. It's for real. Morgan Grind saying Tiny Desk is fire.
Yes.
I just rewatched one of my
Tiny Desk.
favorite Tiny Desks yesterday. The Idols Tiny Desk. Have you seen that one? It's a British punk band. These dudes are awesome, and their Tiny Desk is maybe the best Tiny Desk I've ever seen. It's
I
so
gotta
good.
put out my favorites. I definitely just saw one of my favorites just because it was one of my favorite artists is on there. JID.
British band,
So
isn't
good.
it?
So good.
Yeah, I love their song.
British.
AOA.
Coop, honest to God, if anybody's gonna scream AOA during a song, it's these dudes. Like these dudes. Like you should check them out. They're pretty fun. Idols, IDLES.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. AOA. Is that kind of band?
You honestly sound like you've listened to them. Like you sound like you've heard Idols.
I just haven't heard their Tiny Desk. Big fan of the rest of their stuff.
Huge fan. Guys, we have a Thursday night football game tonight. As we've mentioned, New Orleans Saints at Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are 2.5-point favorites in this one at home. There's still some uncertainty around who the starting quarterback is going to be for the New Orleans Saints. Coop, how do you see this game going? Are the Cardinals going to pull this one out? They're favorites at home, but not by much.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's like you have one team that is been keeping it afloat, and then one team that I think this game is more important for the Cardinals than it is for the Saints, in my opinion. Like the Cardinals need to win this game. Like this past week, I felt that way about the Chargers and Broncos. Like whatever team loses that game is in a spiral, and I think the Cardinals could be in spiral town if they don't win. It should be a great game. I'm excited to see it. I hope Jameis does play because that makes it a lot more fun. A little huck it, chuck it, Jameis football. Kyler Murray running around like a maniac. That'll be fun. But I think
I was curious because I was like looking for clues as to who the starter is going to be, and I checked on the FanDuel Sportsbook because a lot of times these sportsbooks are pretty sharp with knowing stuff that we don't know. They've got an Andy Dalton passing prop up there for passing yards. They do not have a Jameis Winston passing prop up there. Andy Dalton, and it's sitting at 212.5. So that's almost like expecting a full game out of him as well. So that's not a great sign for Winston playing tonight if the sports books are leaning the Dalton way.
I will say you can't trust everything you see out there, especially when it's not definitive. But Tom Pelissero did tweet that, in his opinion, the signs are pointing towards Andy Dalton getting a fourth consecutive start tonight against the Cardinals. So we've got signs are pointing that way, although the head coach has declined to make it official. Yeah.
I mean, that's fair, right? As the head coach, you probably want to leave as much unknown as possible whenever you get a situation like this.
Right. Unless the head coach does that. The only person that gives you information that you don't need is Jerry Jones. And I guess now Aaron Rodgers has joined that crew, being like, Randall Cobb's fine, right? And then they put him on.
Kind of Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick,
yeah. He gives you information that you definitely don't need.
I feel like his is on purpose. Like his is purposeful. Jerry Jones is doing he's telling you what he thinks you need to know. Like he's thinking everyone wants to hear this. Yeah, exactly.
He loves to hear himself. Yeah, talk. He loves to break news himself. So
no, but Coop, you mentioned this was like an important game for the Cardinals. We've started hearing the rumors, the whispers that Cliff Kingsbury could be on the way out. That this is a make or break season for him. Do you think this game is going to be something that causes him to get fired? Like, is he that close to being fired? Is he that on the hot seat that losing to the Saints on Thursday night could be the final nail in the coffin?
Yeah. So I don't. To me, he's not as close as some of these other guys. And honestly, if I were the Cardinals, I would give him as long of a leash as possible, just because his offense is so unique. What he's built with the air raid offense there, with the 4 wide receiver sets and the linemen having the big splits, like whoever inherits that if and when it does come crashing down, that's going to be a long turnover and a long rebuild. Like you saw it with the Jets, where Robert Saleh had to take a 3-4 converted to a 4-3. That doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean? And anybody that inherits this air raid is going to have pieces to, can't come in and run the Erhard Perkins or the West Coast right away with the pieces that he has. What do you do with all these little guys? Like, what do you do with Dortch and Rondo Moore and Marquise Brown and Andy Isabella, and and they just traded for Robbie Anderson. They're doing all these weird things. Like, you're inheriting a very strange roster. So if they do blow it up, that would be pretty crazy.
We've seen, not in the NFL, but I think back to, like, this is a great point, Coop. Certain offenses have very specific personnel, and like Georgia Tech, whenever Paul Johnson finally left, like, they ran the triple option for forever with Paul Johnson, and you need a very specific set of players to like effectively run the triple option in a Power 5 conference. Know what I mean? Like, you see schools like the Citadel or some of these smaller schools running it pretty effectively because they're going up against teams that it matches up well against. But Paul Johnson had to recruit specifically to run that offense, and when he left, dude, they were a mess. Like, not that they were great before that, but it takes some time to it takes years of getting new players that fit a different system whenever you were so dialed in on a specific system, something that requires such specific personnel.
My favorite quote on that comes from Jim Harbaugh. When they asked about, like, turning around Michigan's program, he said, "You can't expect to plant potatoes today and eat potato salad tomorrow."
That is such a Jim Harbaugh quote.
Let me put this in terms you might be able to understand.
What a Midwest coach thing to say. Like, they're like, all of the Michigan fans are like, "Oh, I get it now." Like as soon as he said potato salad, they're like, "Oh, put it in terms of a mayonnaise-based salad." And I understand.
He was in a tree while he said that, and he was wearing cleats too.
And khakis. Cleats with khakis.
Cleats with khakis in the tree.
Cleats and khakis.
Give him credit. He said that like a year or two ago, and look at Michigan now. We're good.
Look at Michigan now.
We were talking commercials the other day that, like, stick around. They're like commercials that we love. One that my mom to this day still quotes is the one where it was like the State Farm, like, "What are you wearing?" Khakis. Like, just the khakis commercial. She says it like near weekly at this point.
Well, she's a guy, so
never gets old.
Khakis. No, other stories in this game. We got Chris Olave coming back. We've talked a little bit about him. So whichever quarterback's chucking the ball for the Saints, they're missing most of their offensive pass catchers. Jarvis Landry out, Michael Thomas out. Coop, the fact that we even said Keith Kirkwood on this stream is probably a bad sign for the New Orleans Saints that we even brought him up.
New record.
What are you new record for the number of times Keith Kirkwood was mentioned on a fantasy show? We've now said it 3 times. He's
setting the bar way too high.
But what do you guys think about Olave tonight? Like, is he a slam dunk play for this New Orleans offense with the other options out? Are you worried about him coming back from that injury?
I'm definitely worried. You gotta be cautious. Any player coming back from injury, I'm still plugging him in. If he's playing, Olave is the guy on that offense. And I think this could be a fun game. Could end up being a fun one.
His over-under for receiving yards is set at 63.5 yards on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Coop, is that within his range of outcomes? Do you like that bet, 63.5?
I mean, I don't know if I like the bet, but that makes me want to start him in fantasy. 63, if you get 63 from a guy in any given week, I'm in. Sign me up for 63, right? In this environment, 63 yards is a nice game.
Economy.
In this yards economy, absolutely, we got to start him. The big story we've kind of glossed over to this point. We've mentioned it throughout the show, but DeAndre Hopkins is coming back this week. Marquise Brown, unfortunately, not playing, but we're going to see D-Hop on the field. We're going to get some nuke. Jail, was this the missing piece to this Arizona offense? Is this the reason it's been struggling, or is it unrelated?
Unrelated. You're saying like the absence of D-Hop? Is that the reason?
Yeah.
It is not related to that. Unfortunately, as much as I love DeAndre Hopkins, which I think there are a few people out there who probably love him more than I do, you got to be worried. You got to see what role he carves out for himself in this offense when he comes back. There's new players from the last time we saw DeAndre Hopkins in this offense. Situations changed. It's changed a lot, and there was already a lot of uncertainty prior to this whole situation, prior to coming into the season. So it is not the missing piece, but he definitely has upside. He's one of the most talented wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Joe. This offense wasn't looking like it was just missing a nuke. It looked like an incompetent offense. Last week, they scored their first quarter points of the season, and it was a field goal. They were the only team in the NFL going into last week that hadn't scored first quarter points. That's not bloomers. That's not, oops, we're missing DeAndre Hopkins. That's, oops, our offense sucks. Like, our offense is terrible. We need to change something. But I'm hoping they look a little bit better. Coop, I'm with you. I'm optimistic about this game. I think it's going to be fun. D-Hop, you're plugging him in if you have him, right? Like, you drafted him. You held onto him for 5 weeks. It wasn't an injury. It was a suspension. Like he's going straight into your lineup if you drafted him, right?
Yeah. I don't think he needs to go straight into your lineup necessarily. I think you could wait.
I'll put him right.
It's all contextual, right? Like a lineup decision is contextual. It depends on your other options. I don't think it's a must start. Like,
man. I don't have many guys that are better.
If I drafted him and held him on my bench for 6 weeks, took that hit to my team, the reason is because I think he's a must start when he's playing, right? Like I'm plugging him in.
I mean, but Jail, the thing is, how many? Like, is right. So virtually every lineup, like let's say you have a league where you only start 2 wide receivers, and in that league you're starting running back in the flex. What wide receivers would you have to not start Hopkins? Like you'd have to have 2 top 15 or so guys, probably, right? Like Hopkins, at the very least, he's a back end wide receiver too, is he not? DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, I put him. Yeah, I'd put like that's where I would like the upper side of where I would put his range of outcomes this week. Let me hit you with
hit
me with some names.
Yeah, I will. So Mike Williams or DeAndre Hopkins?
Mike Williams.
Okay. Brandon Cooks or DeAndre Hopkins?
I would start DeAndre Hopkins.
Cortland Sutton or DeAndre Hopkins?
Sutton.
Right. Sutton's been pretty good. So
Allen Lazard or DeAndre Hopkins?
Who does Green Bay have? They have
Washington.
I would go Lazard.
I'm starting Hopkins over Allen.
I'm starting Hopkins
as
well.
That's getting a little closer.
But Lazard does score a touchdown like every week, which is nice. Christian Kirk or DeAndre Hopkins?
Kirk.
Really? See, I'm going Hopkins there.
Earth and kind of a tough set for Kirk so far. Tyler Lockett.
I'll definitely go Lockett over Hopkins.
Tonight, would you start Chris Olave or DeAndre Hopkins?
Oh, I would start. I would. This one's close, and it would depend a little bit on like what I'm trying to do this week, like what strategy I'm trying to employ. But I think I would go Olave.
What are you worried about for Hopkins? And what's the concern? It's not like he's coming off Olave is coming off an injury, but Hopkins is
what's
not
the
coming
upside?
Off an injury.
It's
the
like
upside
what's
is
the
he
upside?
has 130 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Sure. What's the likelihood that is like that's going to occur versus like
I'm just a little bit
like 4 targets because they're not featuring him or they're featuring other parts of the offense. Like we just don't know. I feel like we're extrapolating because we're like, okay, DeAndre Hopkins is really good. He's a really good wide receiver. It's coming back and they're just gonna boom. It's just gonna work. But we don't know. There's just risk, right? And so it's all the conversation is about risk tolerance here.
Right. I will say it's like if I'm starting a guy like Allen Lazard, I'm chasing touchdowns. But DeAndre Hopkins last year, even getting hurt, he had 8 touchdowns in 10 games. Like that's what this guy does. Like he is a guy that can go up and get the ball. He doesn't really need to. Doesn't have to have plays schemed up for him. For me, a guy like that is the upside's too great.
I'm more in line with you, Coop. I don't like. I understand the risk, but there's risk with all these players. And whenever we get a little bit lower, the risk comes from this guy's not as talented of a football player as DeAndre Hopkins. Like DeAndre Hopkins is more talented than Allen Lazard, and he's out there on the field as the number 1 wide receiver, especially with Marquise Brown out. You know what I mean? Like we don't even have to worry about the one that was sitting there because that one's injured. Like maybe if Brown was in there, like I would be a little bit more risk averse with DeAndre Hopkins, but Brown's not playing. DeAndre Hopkins is the wide receiver 1 in that offense. The biggest concern for me is the offense. But we've still seen fantasy relevant pieces from this Arizona Cardinal offense already. And I think D-Hop's better than every other pass catcher that's caught balls from Kyler Murray so far this year. Like I get what you're saying, but I just don't think like the risk outweighs the upside of a player as talented as DeAndre Hopkins, especially because this isn't an injury. It's a suspension, right?
Yeah, Hopkins could easily have a 4-target game too. You're right. You're chasing the touchdown.
I'm not arguing the upside of DeAndre Hopkins. I'm the biggest fan of DeAndre Hopkins, and I will be the biggest fan as an advocate for his talent. I think the way I'm thinking about it is I don't think about weekly matchups as I don't weigh like talent as much in those situations. If I held DeAndre Hopkins up until this point, is because I thought that was going to be valuable to my team long term, right? Or however long throughout the season, right? That I wanted to provide value out of him, not necessarily because he's an every week starter to me.
You want to see one. You want to see one first. I think that's
fair. I mean, when was the last time that we saw DeAndre Hopkins like consistently be a wide receiver 1 throughout a season, right? Like, and again, I'm not arguing his talent. Like, I know that he can be. What I'm saying is like his situation has really affected him in the past. So gotta look at that.
I mean, before he got hurt last year, I think he was wide receiver 1, but it was mostly propped up by touchdowns.
Well, and that being said, he doesn't need to be a wide receiver 1 for me to plug him in this week. Like my expectations aren't a top 12 guy. I've got him like around wide receiver 18 this week, and I'll be so happy with that. Like that's beautiful. But he has that upside to be the top scoring wide receiver on the week, any given week. Like there aren't as many wide receivers who have that. And I think
I'm with you on that.
I think his floor is relatively safer maybe than you would think as a guy who hasn't played 5 games or hasn't played in 6 games yet so far this year.
Dude, I hope he goes off. I'm gonna be the happiest if he does go off because it'll just be good to see vintage Nuke back.
I got some
vintage
Nuke going. Yeah. Wait,
And
2000 just a year ago, like these were his top games, like in 2020. So last year he was banged up a bit, but just the year before that with Kyler Murray, he had games of 103 yards, 127 yards, 131 yards, 136 yards, 137 yards, 151 yards, and 169 yards. Like I see that, and I'm like, what if that happens?
Get him in there.
Yeah, no, that's
fun.
I'm not like that's where I think like his talent, he has the ability to do that. And if you guys remember watching DeAndre Hopkins prior to like that stint with Kyler Murray and most recent stint with like Kyler Murray in the Arizona offense, DeAndre Hopkins is the guy who's just like can't be beat, right? Contested catch king. In Houston, he was like, no matter what, he would find a way to get
catching like between his legs,
yeah,
and doing these weird things. You know?
Yeah, he's like truly just insanely talented wide receiver, really fun to watch. And so I'm definitely not arguing that. I think that he absolutely could have a night like that for sure. What I'm arguing is more it comes down to like start sit theory more than the actual player himself.
True.
We got Cooter Doodle in the chat. What's up, Cooter?
Ooh,
Welcome
no.
in. She wrote it backwards too. All these people writing "oi" backwards.
Oi.
It's Cooter. It's spelled O-Y, not Y-O. Oi.
Oi. Hey, Cooter Doodle in the chat. Yeah.
Oi. Cooter Doodle.
Shout out, Cooter.
What's up, Cooter? I did want to let you guys know we're talking all this DeAndre Hopkins. I opened up the first touchdown score props for this game. Mr. DeAndre Hopkins is tied for the best odds overall with Alvin Kamara for the first time touchdown score at plus 700. And in the anytime touchdown score category, only Alvin Kamara is ahead of him. Alvin Kamara at plus 115, DeAndre Hopkins at plus 125 to be an anytime touchdown score in this game as well. So they like the dude for that.
FanDuel with their odds, they say, eat it, JL.
Eat
it. Eat it, dude.
Coop, you want to play our classic first touchdown score game?
This is my favorite game, dude. Except for that time that I was robbed of my glory when Ryan Griffin was wide open.
Oh my God. I was so ready to celebrate. I was like, no way. And then it was like, oh yeah, no way.
I had 2 hands on the coffee table ready to flip that mofo.
You'll need that soup everywhere.
Yeah. There's some funny names on this list now. Rashid Shaheed after scoring this is anytime. First, we want the first touchdown score list.
First touchdown score, yeah.
Rashid Shaheed scored on like a random end around. Anyone want to put money on that for it to happen again? Plus 9,000. Yeah, I'm not going that deep. Another name we have to drop: Keith Kirkwood.
Keith Kirkwood.
Kevin White.
Olave back.
Kevin White was in the league, and he's sitting down here at plus 7,500. Man, talk about wide receivers that we were excited about. That didn't pan out.
Yeah, that
Greg Dortch, 4,500.
Nah, dude, the dude doesn't even play.
Man, this one I'm not feeling as sexy, like not feeling as spicy going down the list. Like sometimes I see names down low and I'm like, ooh, I like this one. But Coop, a name you brought up earlier, he's sitting at plus 2,000. Juwan Johnson's a name that I like on this list. At plus
that
2,000.
was like real. That was like an actual bet that I would really legitimately play.
I like
that. For those unfamiliar with the rambling that's going on right now, we like to play a game where we look at the first touchdown score and find the name farthest down the list where we can create a realistic narrative that it might happen. Cooter Doodle says, Coop, what's your thoughts on Juwan tonight against the Cardinals? Because I don't hate it. I don't hate it either, Cooter. I actually kind of love it quietly. Especially if you're doing a DFS showdown slate, that's I'm getting him in there because Adam Trotman was kind of the guy that was stepping on his toes with Andy Dalton, but he's out this week. I think he actually has a toe injury, just to bring that full circle. But Adam Trotman's out; he's been ruled out, and Jarvis Landry's out. Michael Thomas is out. Juwan Johnson, we're talking about a converted wide receiver who ends up at wide receiver for most of his snaps. He's basically a wide receiver that you can start in a tight end slot. So if you have a guy like Dallas Goedert and who's out this week, and you're just looking for a 1 week start, he's out on bye week. You just need a 1 week start, and then you're going to go right back to Goddard. throw what you want in there. It's a lot of fun. It's Thursday Night Football, baby. Let's go. Cardinals are one of the very worst teams in the league versus the tight end. They are.
It's been like multiple years running, isn't it? Like I
So-
feel like last year it was also like start your tight ends against Arizona.
They were good. They were really good when they had Devondre Campbell and Isaiah Simmons was playing well. And last year they weren't too bad with Isaiah Simmons, but Simmons has just been so bad this year. It's just been rough. So I think it's a good spot to get you on in there for sure.
So
Man, that's-
Cooter is a Saints fan. If you aren't aware, if you're not familiar with her work, I got a question for you, Cooter. You got to tell us in the chat if you could ride on the shoulders of one Saints player, who would it be? Which player would it be? Please let us know.
Taysom Hill, I'm kicking him in the nips the whole time. I am
just.
well. I'm at,
like
he's
a kid in a
he's
booth.
very tall, so my legs only go down to his nipples. But I am wearing my boots. I'm going to get some Spurs, and I am nip kicking them over and over and
A
over
kid in
again.
a restaurant booth, just like slamming their legs against.
Nah, dude, it's gotta
His
be.
nips
it's
are
gotta
just
be.
like red and bleeding.
It's gotta be Alvin Kamara because he's got the hair that you like the handlebar hair where you could kind of steer him around a little bit. You know, we're going this way.
like Ratatouille almost, but with Alvin Kamara. No,
No,
I'm
reverse
Alvin
Ratatouille.
Kamara's too like. I want to be friends with him too much to pick him to ride on his shoulders. Know what I mean? Because I feel like that would limit it. Like he's one of the guys. If you like made me pick 3 players in the NFL that I would want to be friends with most, Alvin Kamara's on that list. Dude just seems
we have
so cool.
We have a connection to
We
Alvin
do.
Kamara. We gotta like figure out how to get
He's way too cool,
work
bro.
that connection to get him on here.
He's
way
the
too
reason
cool.
I'll never get a septum piercing because I'll never look as cool as him with it. I just know it. Every time I look in the mirror, I'll be like, I'm not Alvin Kamara. I'm not pulling this
Is that
off.
how you make your like
That's the
just
reason.
like identity decisions? You're like, you know what? Nah, I'm never gonna have the best eyes ever.
No, that's the
Those are
first
my
time.
eyes.
It's the first time I've ever done that. He looks so cool with that ring that it influenced my decision about my appearance for the first time ever.
I was gonna say it explains the jean jacket.
You would have otherwise had a nose piercing. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. I have multiple Photoshop pictures on my phone of me with a septum ring in, seeing what I would look like. Not good, Bob's. Not
Really
good.
badly
But I was going to
Photoshopped.
do it anyways. When I get bored, sometimes I'm like, I should go get something pierced. Like I should just go get a needle shoved through something. So that's why I try to stay not bored.
I think
Tommy in the chat with the go nips. Yeah, go nips.
Go nips.
Oh, nips. Hey, oi, hey. I'm looking at this.
Hey.
I'm looking at this list, dude, and the biggest way to throw your money away is to put your money on Andy Dalton rushing touchdown. Because if
Now
there's any situation where they're even remotely close to an Andy Dalton rushing touchdown, Taysom Hill is going to be the quarterback for that play.
Where is
isn't?
Oh,
Or
and they
is he?
they agree with that. They sit at plus 4,200 for Andy Dalton down there. Yeah, that one's pretty rough.
I'll tell you what I'm going
Zach
with.
Ertz is pretty interesting. 12.
I'm telling you what I'm going with. The deepest one on this list for me, AJ Green, plus 2,500. He's playing the snaps. He still has the size. It's going to be him and DeAndre Hopkins on the outside with Rondell Moore in the slot and Zach Ertz essentially being the 4th wide receiver. That's the setup that I foresee. I don't think Robbie Anderson is going to be ready. I don't think Greg Dortch is going to play a bunch. I think AJ Green very easily could catch a touchdown. He still can catch those possession balls from time to time. So that's the guy. That's the deepest guy on this list I like, unless you want to go with the defense, which is, I guess that's always in play. They're a little that might be the deepest one, but that's so boring.
I've got a narrative. I've got not only what's going to happen, but how it's going to happen. And I'm going to fully call it right here. And whenever this happens, first drive of the game, the Saints are going to get the ball first. They're going to be driving down the field. They're going to put Taysom Hill in like first drive. They've got a play scripted for him, ready to go. Everyone's thinking he's going to run the ball because that's what he does. He steps back, passes, pick 6, Arizona defense with the first touchdown of the game off of Taysom Hill. And he doesn't see another snap the rest of the game because of it. That's what's happening.
I'll tell you, if you told Cooter
Bloody
Doodle that
nips
as
and
a
all.
if you told Cooter Doodle that as a bedtime story, I don't think she would sleep that night.
No, I think she's going to go unfollow me right away for saying that. But then the Saints go on to win the game. But it's going to start with a pick 6 from Taysom Hill.
Once you get that, once you tell me a story, I'm so in. I'm like, yeah,
I'm bought in immediately.
that could happen. Once you get the actual narrative going, I'm like, yeah, that's going down. But no, AJ Green for me. JL, who do you like? Deepest player that you could create some sort of narrative for? Is it JP Holtz?
Deepest character, I think I could make an argument. So hear me out, guys. I think I can make an argument that Nick Vannett is going to.
Ooh, I like it. Go ahead.
He said he could, not that he's going.
I said I think I could. I didn't say that I had one ready for you guys.
I could, but I'm too cool. Not going to make it.
I won't go with Nick Vannett, who I will go
Oh, I kind of
with.
like that. Hey, I'll make an argument for him, dude. Adam Trotman's out. Juwan Johnson plays wide receiver for 78% of his snaps. Like, he is a guy that they're not going to put him in line with his hand in the dirt. Someone's got to do that. You got to pick JP Holtz or Nick Vannett to play that role. One of those guys could easily be in that role. And we've seen the blocking tight end sneak out from time to time. Happens all the time. They go jumbo set, Taysom Hill in there. Everyone thinks it's a run. Nick Vannett kind of clunks his way to the corner of the end zone. Boom. Plus 6,900. $100 to win $7,000. What's up?
I think my accountant's from JP Holtz.
JP Holtz
plus,
Associates.
oh, sorry. I undersold it. Plus 9,000, dude. So
plus 9. Yeah,
$100 to win on FanDuel, 9,500. So basically $100 to win $10,000 if that happens.
Yeah, I think the deepest player I'll make an argument for is old Robbie Anderson. Maybe Robert Anderson was just too good for Carolina.
Bobo.
Maybe Robbie Anderson, it was time to leave Carolina because maybe they were holding him back. Now he's in Arizona. Maybe he's the new DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see.
I hate you for even saying that out loud. You don't believe that for a second.
Watch Robbie Anderson outscore DeAndre Hopkins.
I'll never be more
talk
mad.
about.
Boys and girls and Cookie Monsters out there, I'm changing my answer to JP Holt. That's final. JP Holt with the narrative I just created based on what I've done, that Nick Vannett narrative, swapping the name JP Holt. He was the guy that came in that played last week when Adam Trotman was out. That's mine. Plus 9,500. Lock that in. Burn $100 on it. I mean, if you bet $10 on it and he scores, you win $950. That's the play.
That's the play. Cooter in here with the time to time. It happens all the time. Coop 2022. You guys, that's what you come here for. The hard hitting analysis. Time to time. Yeah, that just sounds like a misquote of Anchorman. Like you kind of remember the Anchorman quote, but not fully.
Approximate quote of Anchorman.
Every
like
once
Jim
in a
Irsay.
while.
What did Jim
Sometimes
Irsay
happens.
say? He was like, you got to stand for something or everything's going to trick you. Like he said it like kind of wrong. It was like yesterday. You've been taking classes from Jim Irsay on phrases.
It reminds me of this guy character from Adventure Time, which Cooter I know is a fan of Adventure Time with me. We were just talking about it on Twitter recently, but I forget the name of the character, but it's like the little fox in this dungeon that Finn is in.
I remember the fox.
And he like has approximate knowledge of many things. So he's like, hello, Frank the human. He's like, that's almost my name. He's like, I have approximate knowledge of many things.
So wait, do all of us love Adventure Time? Because I also love that show.
I love Adventure Time.
Oh, of
it's
course,
so
dude.
good.
Of course. You think I'm too cool for Adventure Time, bro?
In my mind, Simon, we argued Adventure Time and Rick and Morty sometime last year on the on our game show.
I was on your
my
side.
mind. I thought you were on the. I think you were on the Rick and Morty side. I just remember everyone was my enemy. Maybe it was just like a defense mechanism because I was fighting everyone over Adventure Time that day. And I'm like, me versus the world, Adventure Time.
I love Adventure Time. I do love Adventure Time. I love Rick and Morty as well. But
who's your
the
favorite character on
Marceline the Vampire Queen? Without a doubt, in my mind, Marceline is the number one character.
Mine 100% is
fantastic character.
Mine 100% is BMO.
BMO is so good. Football.
It's either BMO or King Lem or Prince Lemongrass.
Oh, you would love Lemongrass.
Unacceptable.
I hear Lemongrass' voice in my head all the time, but like I can't verbalize that to anyone because it doesn't make any sense for me to be like.
You mentioned Rick and Morty. You mentioned Rick and Morty. It's like the guy from Rick and Morty is the dude who voices
Mr. Poopy Butthole.
Yeah, the guy Justin Roiland, I think it is, or one of those two guys. I forget which one, but yeah, the guy from Rick and Morty is the dude that does Lemongrass.
All of the Marceline songs are bangers.
I think that's why I like her so much. Is like I'm a sucker for good music and shows and movies and stuff like that. And every time she comes on, I'm like, God, this is fire. Like, and she's just so like good. Got the attitude, the bite. You know what I mean? Like that show needs a little bite, and she brings it in such a playful and kind way. Still, though, like she is kind, but she's a vampire queen, and she's got some attitude. Cooter said Rick and Morty is good, but it doesn't comfort me. It makes me feel worse. Yeah, some of those episodes end, and I'm like.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn on SpongeBob or something.
You like,
harmless.
but the best song is BMO's Robot Cowboy song. Best song on the show, dude.
Oh,
Do you know
Robot,
that
yeah,
one?
so good. Oh my
Being a
god.
robot cowboy is lonely. I can't sing it in BMO's voice. Yeah, well, let's
we
pivot
should all
back
be
to football.
we should
since
be
I-
Adventure Time characters for Halloween.
The YouTube chat is loving the Adventure Time talk with Cooter and Joey, and then I look over at the like Better Al and Tommy in the in the other chat, and they have not a lot of adventure support.
They're on like rei.com.
They just find a bunch of carabiner clips. They've got like 40 carabiner clips in their cart, and they're like, "You never know when you're gonna need more of these."
Actually, dude, my favorite character might be that dude Starchy. It's like even old Starchy.
Starchy.
Starchy's guy.
My like what's their non-popular choice? Cinnamon Bun.
Cinnamon Bun is a great character. Cooter has a way to tie this together.
Character, dude.
Which Adventure Time character would score the first touchdown? It's definitely Jake the dog. Without he's not my. It's Jake.
He's
the
best
dog.
character.
I don't know. Rainicorn seems pretty swift.
Yo, Rainicorn underrated.
She's limited.
Character.
She can't stretch.
She kind of
Jake can stretch. She doesn't have to stretch because she is stretched already.
She does have magic.
She can fly though.
That's true.
I think it's
true.
Jake.
That is a good point. Didn't think of that.
You think it's Jake? I don't know. I'm sticking with Rainicorn.
Maybe it's the Ice King. He confuses the football.
Ice
for
King
a
would
princess.
fumble in the one.
He would. Yeah, exactly.
Just tell him the ball's a princess, and he's going to go straight for it every time. He's going to be ready to go on that front. I don't see any of these guys on the list, though. Not a single one of them. I saw another question from Craig in the chat. It was a Juwan Johnson prop. And one for Ertz as well. He said over 22.5 yards receiving for Juwan or over 47.5 receiving yards for Ertz. Good bet. So which one of those do you prefer? 22.5 for Juwan Johnson, 47.5 for Ertz.
So
I like the Juwan Johnson bet out of those two. Yeah, Juwan Johnson at 22.5 receiving yards. Zach Ertz at 47.5.
I would rather bet Juwan. Like 40. Ertz is the thing about Ertz is all his entire career, he's always been a slow-ish, low A-dot player. He doesn't get you through yards. He gets you death by 1,000 cuts through receptions. That's why he's never really finished higher than tight end 3. Or he doesn't. I don't think he even has He has one 1,000-yard season in his career. Like he's never been that guy. So I never like betting the yardage props for Ertz.
Yeah,
whereas
especially
Juwan Johnson has he's got like 11 or 12 yard average depth of target. Juwan Johnson, he could, if he catches 2 passes, he'll beat that number.
Yeah,
I'm on the other side of this. I would go the Zach Ertz side. He's been a major piece of this offense throughout the season so far. 21% target share in this offense. Now we know this is going to likely change with the new pieces coming in. But Marquise Brown leaving. Marquise Brown was getting a ton of opportunities. Now he's not here, right? He's injured. So I think Zach Ertz could be a major factor in this game. He's averaging 10.2 fantasy points a game, half PPR. It's pretty decent.
I would start Ertz over Juwan Johnson. It's just the question
but
is
the prop
betting
between
on
50, right.
One guy having 50 yards versus one guy having 20. Right? I think
for sure.
That's why. Yeah, like obviously Ertz.
What were the lines that you looked at? They weren't that far apart last I looked.
They were 22.5. The lines that Craig found, I'm not sure we got them. 22.5 for Juwan and 47.5 for Ertz.
47. Okay. I think,
that's the difference.
What I'm seeing here is Juwan's up. Juwan might be up to like 30.5. So in that case,
he's at 26.5 on FanDuel now, and Zach Ertz a little bit lower at 45.5 as well. So similar lines, but not quite where they were.
Yeah, I just think it's more likely that we see Ertz still be a major part of this game plan. I want to take the more likelihood that the opportunity is going to lead to that versus Juwan Johnson. I think still could likely hit his prop, but I'll put it in. I'll put my trust in Ertz.
I think this whole discussion has made me realize that my favorite Adventure Time character is in fact Lumpy Space Princess.
Oh my god, that's the worst choice ever.
That's the best.
Literally
character.
like the worst character.
What, dude? That's far and away the best character.
I'm with JL on this one. I am fully with JL on this.
You're out on Lumpy, dude. Lumpy Space Princess.
I'm out on Lumpy.
You can remove her from any scene she's in, and it's better or exactly the same.
No, so good, bro. Look at my
though. You know what? Maybe I'm underselling it because the episode where Jake gets turned lumpy is a great episode. Like that is such a good one. I'm underrating it. It's lumpy. I think it's just like it's one of the few characters that makes me a little uncomfortable watching that show. Most characters provide comfort. Lumpy is like, let me throw a little discomfort in here while you're watching this. And it's just like,
You just said Lumpy is wild. It's a wild.
The one that's always doing the weird, uncomfortable stuff is Peppermint Butler. He's always like just chilling, and then he does some like satanic stuff.
Dustin's like, never seen Avengers. He's like, what are you guys talking about?
Lumpy Space Princess, those are normal words, right? That if you don't watch
go watch it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, watch the entire thing. I think I've seen the entire thing twice.
I've done it a couple times. It's mostly been in the background.
Distant Lands one on HBO Max.
Oh, I don't have HBO Max, so I got.
They added some post finale, like a new series, essentially limited series of Adventure Time.
They should put it on Amazon Prime. They should go on Amazon Prime so I can watch it over there.
Dude, and one of the episodes is a Peppermint Butler like origin story. So Coop, I
might have skipped that one. That one might be a little too scary for me.
I think I asked you guys this before, but since we talked about it, have you guys turned on the Prime Vision broadcast on Thursday Night Football?
You told me to. I did, and it lived up to it. You weren't wrong.
Sick. It's so sick.
You were right.
Now I know what you're saying, Simon. Like, how can they not get the first down? Why do we even need this old man out there trying to guess where the first down is?
Track the routes live, and we can't determine where the first down is.
The route tracking thing, I thought I would find more enjoyable, but I just ended up every single time I'm like, why is it only like on 2 of the 5 players, 2 of the 3 players?
They scaled it back last week. The week before they did it for everyone. I don't know what was going on.
Bring on the Sky Judge. I'm fully on board. The Sky Judge. Bring him on.
The way that the angle that they show you, it's like pretty much like you're not like the routes are mostly the same. You just track the players running. So I feel like unless you're at like an all 22 type angle, I just didn't find it super valuable.
While we getting towards the end of the show here, question in the chat. Flex 1 standard league, no points for catching passes. Romeo Dubs, Jeff Wilson Jr., I believe that is.
Yep.
Brian Robinson or Alec Pierce. Who you guys like? It's standard league.
Standard changes this one for sure. I think I'm getting probably one more week out of Jeff Wilson Jr. You know what I mean? I don't love Jeff, but he should get the full workload. Elijah Mitchell, this is week 7. We could see him back. I think he has at least one more week out, right? Like he's got at least one more.
Yeah,
I think I'd go Jeff Wilson Jr. here, but these are good options. I'm tempted by
run on the Chiefs. You can run on the Chiefs.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I kind of like Brian Robinson in standard. He seems like a threat to score at any given time. I don't know, JL. What do you like on this one?
Yeah, the matchup against Green Bay is positive for Robinson. I think the conversation is between the 2 guys you mentioned, Wilson and Robinson. I would lean Robinson. Like you guys said, you can run on the Chiefs.
And suddenly I'm alone on the Jeff Wilson side. How the turntable.
I'm sure there are people out
your
there.
Side. I'm taking Jeff
JL
Wilson.
took Brian Robinson, and I'm alone over here on the Jeff Wilson side.
Jason says Tua or Matt Ryan. I would go Tua. I'm not chasing last week's performance by Matt Ryan. I think Tua is the guy right now. Better. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Sign me up.
Ever heard of him?
Ever heard of him?
And this is one of those situations I know people are nervous about his health because it was scary what we saw out there. And people are lacking trust because we saw him come back out on the field. If the NFL is saying he's good to go to stardom, we're playing a fantasy game. If he's out there, I'm plugging him into my lineup. Like Tua is going in my lineup. The upside's too high, and I just got to trust, especially with all the eyes on this process, right? Like the Dolphins are under such scrutiny right now for how they handled that. If he's in there, you got to play him. You got to play him. Guys, we are approaching the end of our show right here. I want to thank everybody for coming in, hanging out with us this morning from 7 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. And good news, we're going to be back tomorrow, and we'll be able to talk all about how DeAndre Hopkins just absolutely demolished this week, and Robbie Anderson laid a stinky poo-poo on the field. That's going to be it for us this morning. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, adios, everyone. This is the end of the show.
Bye-bye. Over now.